go to this year, and I couldn't. And now uh, NRA is in a couple of weeks, and
Are
I
we live?
have to miss that one too.
We're live, aren't we?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us for this week's edition of the Liberty First Foundation Weekly Roundtable. I am your host, Dr. Zelmo J. Pitt, Esquire, also host of the Range Report. And this evening, we are graced by the absence of Mr. Dan Wass, host of the Loaded Mic.
Dan would be here.
He's a
Who
real
would be there?
clown.
That hand is waving.
The only guy that walks out on the show. One second
Anthony
after it
Tissot
starts.
and John Chiara are both here from the Loaded Mic. So we're happy to have them. And adding to the stream right now is the Dragon of the Southern Tier, Dr. Mike Vasquez. Yes, I'm calling everybody doctor today. I'll get to the reason why later. And joining us for the first time in weeks, Jeremy Primo Libertas.
Not bad.
Hey,
There he is, Jeremy Bishop,
Cool.
one of the
Good to
other
see you again,
co-founders
Dan.
of the Liberty Foundation.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
good. Just good. Recovering from my birthday, which
Yeah.
was yesterday.
What'd you do? Drink
Happy
too much?
birthday.
A little bit. A little bit.
My birthday starts at midnight.
Yeah, Vass.
Not enough.
Vass
You're still
did
upright.
Vass did a 12-hour. What would you call it? Aside from a broadcast,
I called it
Call it
my
filibuster.
birthday.
it was filibuster-like material of Vass covering every topic that you could possibly cover for 12 hours straight on his 55th birthday. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd all join in with me and say happy birthday to Mr. Vasquez, Michael. Happy birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
We're ringing the
Hey.
bells in for you. We got the disco lights going and everything. And
Hey,
joining
Jan,
us
how's it
tonight,
going?
and Jeremy Bishop is here. Jeremy, so good to have you back, my brother. How have you been?
It's been crazy, but it's good to be back. Full disclosure, I've probably got about an hour tonight.
That's, and you know what? An hour with you is better than 2 hours with other people. And I mean that by
I appreciate
Dan,
that.
Anthony, and Johnny here. So, we have to try and make sure we have to keep these guys on their worst behavior. That was the promise that we had this evening. So, for those of you guys who are with us that don't know about the Loaded Mic podcast, it's one of our favorite shows. These are three of our very good friends in the industry, John, Anthony, and Dan. Guys, say a big how do you do, and let people know about your show and what it exactly is that is loaded in your mic.
Well, go ahead, Dan. Well, I mean, okay. So Loaded Mic is a web show. We're on a bunch of different networks. It's primarily a Second Amendment related show, but we get into topics of the day, all sorts of politics. It's a total with these two guys. It's a total blast because we have segments like Woke Patrol, where we actually troll wokesters. And we have another segment called the Knuckle Sandwich, where we give people a virtual knuckle sandwich. So we have a bunch of fun on it, but we also have very serious interviews like we did with you, Frank, you and Raul. But it's the Loaded Mic, and it's loadedmic.com. Just a fun show. We have a total blast with it.
Well, as someone who's now appeared on your show, I can tell you we did have a really good time. The nature of the show that I was on, like you said, was kind of serious. The story that I told on your show is 51 years old, so it's only impactful on the tail end. The story that Raul told, which is the same story that he told here on our show, is impactful for today. And Raul, God bless him, we're talking a serious 100% bona fide American hero right there.
Yeah.
That guy is stud in every which way you can. And no matter how you slice it, him being alive and being able to do what he did was nothing short of miraculous.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's a person of faith, but that was surely an example of what happens when somebody has the will to live, the will to fight, and gets an order that says, get up. And he got the order, and thank God that he did. 20 some odd people.
I don't know how he was able to do that. The guy got shot in the head, busted his jaw. It went in, busted his eye socket, his nose, and came out his right eye, bringing his eyeball with it. And he still got up and put 4 bullets in the killer. unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
Incredible.
hell, last July I fell into an open drainage thing and
You've been
shattered
crying
my
about it since.
back, and I'm still screwed up, and I couldn't imagine. I went through that and I screamed out loud. I can't imagine, what this guy went through. I mean, he said, well, Mel Brooks always said about it, he says, you want to know the difference between comedy and tragedy. A tragedy is, you sit there doing your letters, your bills and everything, and you wind up getting one of them nasty little paper cuts right between your fingers, and it's in a bad spot. It doesn't have a heel right. Your hands are always sweating. It's always stinging. This is this is tragic. This is tragic. Guy walking down the street falls into an open manhole cover and dies. That's comedy.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly.
So, John, tell us about your comedy today.
Who, me?
Yeah.
I twisted my ankle doing something stupid, and now I'm crippled. It's great.
Story.
Yeah.
Story.
Tomorrow's my birthday, and I'm crippled. No
Oh,
dancing, no nothing. I can eat
He
cake.
fell with a full basket of clothes.
Oh my God.
Oh, it was a laundry
It's a
incident.
long story.
It's okay. My daughter was getting off the ski lift going snowboarding. Didn't crash snowboarding, just getting off the ski lift and broke her wrist.
Oh god.
Oh,
Happens all the time.
I thought I broke my ankle. Actually, I heard it snap, but I guess it was just
Oof.
tendon.
Ooh.
Nothing important.
Well, I hope
If
you have a
heard
swift
something snap,
recovery.
but it's not bone related. It may be ligament or tendon damage, which
It happened to my
I'm-
shoulder a month and a half ago. It snapped. It's a ligament,
Yeah.
and a tendon, and
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to 2 weeks from now on April 28th. I have to go in and have the ligaments and tendon in my left ankle reattached to the bottom of my foot and have the now separated bone that's just floating around in there reattached.
We're going to
that'll
put
be-
Humpty Dumpty back together again?
That's like not even part of part of what needs to get worked on. That's just like a
Nice.
little bit of it.
Guys, you don't have to try that hard to make me feel good about my age. Really.
Well, look, Mike, you've got like the least amount of problems. As far as it goes. You're at the house, you walk the dog, you go back in, you sit in front of the camera. I mean, you this is like the only if you've ever seen Vass go out and actually cover a story someplace, dude shows up dressed to the nines. He's got the suit on, he's got the dark shirt, he's got the silk tie, he's got the houndstooth wool overcoat on, he's looking his best and everything. And he gets to wherever he's going and whatever opposition party is there that he's going to try and get an interview with. It's like, how do you survive a bear attack? By being the fastest runner? Well,
Yep.
that's how they look at it, because it's whoever runs away from him the slowest is who he catches. They all run. When they
Well,
show up.
to Michael's credit,
Yeah.
I've done several shows. Michael and I have done a bunch of shows. I think we
Oh,
did
yeah.
probably Rory Sauter's show, maybe
Mhm.
a whole bunch of different people. And Michael is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, it's amazing the stuff he packs away in that brain. So
Well, you should see me at the end of the 12 hour. At the end of 12 hours, it's kind of slow at that point.
Yeah,
But it was
I
cool.
had to call into a show yesterday just to present him with a couple of different arguments on how we could overcome some of the insanity of the whole I was born this, think I'm that, now I'm going to ask you to call me the other thing, and whatever else in between. I came up with a pretty good idea on how we could start winning that battle.
Oh yeah.
And
oh, good. Yeah,
He's
that's what we
good.
need to do. We need to come up with some things where we can start, capturing the narrative a little bit.
well, I was sitting there. I can't remember if it was my cousin or one of my friends that told me that their son goes to school and one of the students in the class believes he's a cat.
They're furry.
Okay. No, not a furry. Not somebody who just shows up in a cat outfit. This is a kid who sits in the class and licks his hands,
Oh,
meows, and all the rest of this stuff, and goes through all the mannerisms that a cat goes through.
I was
And-
the soul out of him.
does he
You
take? Does he take tests well?
I don't know if they even administer tests to this kid. I don't even know. I don't have any clue.
Well, he's not going to do it
Did
right
they-
now.
But I've heard this was one local to me right here in North Carolina, and I've heard of several other instances of this whole thing. And I said, I think I got a way to beat them. I think I might have figured out a way to beat them. If you have a kid that has that can't go near a Snickers bar because it's got peanuts in it, the school that kid goes to, they're like serve pro in the shit out of that place. Top to bottom, there's not going to be a peanut there. Every parent in the school will give a notice to the parents. You can't have send your kids with anything with peanuts in it because we have a student that's deathly allergic to it and could potentially die. And parents have filed suit about this particular thing and have used the Americans with Disabilities Act as a way of backing up and saying, I can't have my kid in a school with peanuts. And other people say, well, then take your kid out of the school. Well, the law also says that government has got they're legally required to teach a child. Yeah. So you have to send the kid to school, especially if you don't have the ability to homeschool or do private school. So that leaves the schools in the situation where they have to accommodate the medical condition of a particular student. Well, here we've got kids running around saying they're cats, dogs, they're fish, they're birds, they're reptiles, whatever. I need to find one parent who's got a kid who's allergic to any one of the animals that one of these kids.
Oh yeah,
gotta have a tool.
And then send this kid to school and say, I cannot have my child in a school where you have the presence of an animal that my child is allergic to. Now, we put this, now think about this. Now we put government in a position where they have two choices. They either have to accommodate the child with the allergy by removing the allergen from the environment, but that's a different thing. Or they have to come out and admit, well, he's not really a cat.
Right.
He's not really a dog. He's just pretending that he is. Oh, so are we now going to say that somebody who identifies as something other than what they were born as at birth is pretending, and that we don't have to make special accommodations for that malady? Now, because we have law already on the books, especially with the Americans with Disabilities Act, with we have all different things as far as catering to people, and it's already been set. There's precedent already been set. Every kid goes to kindergarten. Half of these kindergarten classrooms all have a mascot in there. They have a bunny rabbit. They got a gerbil. Richard Gere, back up. They got hamsters.
I was waiting for the Richard Gere joke.
They got something. And you have parents that have said you have to get rid of this animal. And it even comes down to beyond being allergic. There are people with phobias that have a phobia of certain things. Sure. And phobias are all documented as medically valid. So the schools are either going to have to acknowledge the fact that we have two Jeremys.
I'm trying to figure it out. My computer just
he's got a twin brother.
Jeremy identifies as identical twins.
There we go. My internet went nuts. I had to figure it out and go get my LAN cable.
But if we found a parent who's brave enough to come up and step up to the plate and say, my kid is allergic, you need to make accommodations. We put a school district, aka government, in a position where they have to defend their actions, but they have to do it legally, and they have to use it by what's already accepted doctrine or whatever the legal code requires. Now, if they're going to come out and say, well, the kid's really not what he says he is, all right, then why is there a 15-year-old boy getting undressed and dressed in the girls' locker room with all the other biological girls, or vice versa? Why do you have a 16 or 17-year-old boy wrestling in the girls' wrestling team or playing whatever sport against them? If we continue to allow them to make these exceptions for people without calling to the carpet on it, we're going to lose. Now, people have told me, because I said this idea a couple of times already,
Mhm.
and people said, well, you sink into their level, you're doing this.
No,
Listen,
no.
there's no such thing in this world as a fair fight. If you want to win a fight, you got to fight as dirty as your opponent or dirtier. Because if you put two people that have the equal skill, equally matched in every way, shape, or form, but you give one of them a knife, 100% of the time, the guy with the knife wins. So if we're not willing to break out the weaponry in the legal sense of the word and go to battle for the right thing to do, we're going to lose this war.
We're not.
And this is not just a war of ideas. This is a war for our children and for our kids' future. And it's bleak if we don't stand up and fight. So I figure this is probably the one sound idea that I've heard as far as, well, now how are you possibly going to call me a bigot? My kid's got an allergy. And then if they turn around and go, oh, well, you have to prove your kid has an allergy. I'm sorry, that's a violation of the HIPAA law. I can't share with you my child's medical history.
Exactly. It catches them on their own petard of their own rules. I mean, that's the problem, though. Here's the one thing that keeps bugging me about all of these issues, not just this, but everything. The whole environment. We're never allowed to play on the same rules and the same platform that our opponents do. They have a set of rules, and then they have a set of rules for us and everyone who opposes them. And they're two different sets of rules. So I like this idea, Frank, because we can finally go back at them on their own set of rules, because we really need to. And I know it's because we've been saying things over and over and over again. Like today in Florida. I know we all saw the news about what happened in Florida. And we saw that the 17-year-old, the 12-year-old, they got caught. Now, I don't know. Did anyone actually hear the quote from the sheriff and what he said at that event?
About the security?
No. It was, hang on, I'll bring this up for you guys. Frank, let me show this screen. There it is. You see that?
I did hear it. I can't remember though.
Okay, so it's in the screen. I'm not going to play the sound right now, otherwise we'll get an echo because I've got us on as well.
Well, this one.
Okay.
Yeah, but this one, and this is covered by Forbes, so anyone who wants to look at it and go, oh, you guys are editing, this is Forbes itself. And in this quote, he says exactly the same thing that I've been saying. I know, Dan, you've said it as well. I think we've all said it at some point. Gun control doesn't work. The red flag laws don't work. This is a 17-year-old, 12-year-old. By every one of the laws they want to push out there and the ones that already exist, they don't have a right to have the guns they had. None of the laws that they had would actually stop this. Matter of fact, give me a second.
Well, while you're doing that, New York just got, I'm not sure if people are aware of this. I just wrote an article about it in Ammo Land. The New York Supreme Court just smacked down the New York red flag law.
Yeah, December 2022, I think it was December 17th, that they actually said it's unconstitutional.
Right.
But actually, Frank, I was just going to play it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Play it. So let's listen to this. It's not long. Whoops.
If you are loving,
oh God, help me.
He's cute.
Play.
The gun. Do we know how the suspect got a hold of the weapon?
Can you hear it?
Car
Just
burglary.
quick quiet.
Damn. Okay, it's my system.
That's all right.
But the sense is he calls them out. He's being asked by a reporter, and he literally calls them out directly to their face that everything that they've been saying, and this is something I've said for 17 years. Dan, you said it. I know, and at least one or two of the times we've been together, and many otherwise, it doesn't work. That's why they never quote any of the gun control data, but yet we're supposed to believe, oh yeah, the gun ban, 1994, it works. Really? Quote the numbers. Because when I go to Professor James Allen Fox out of Northeastern University, who did a study over 40 years, no, it didn't. I have a source. Oh, but they don't have one. See, it's the difference of the rules. That's why it pisses me off all the time.
Well, here's the thing that pisses me off, Michael. I'm with you. That 1994, so-called assault weapons ban was scheduled to sunset 10 years later if it didn't do anything to stop violence. Bill Clinton went on trying to sell it to everybody, saying, we got to stop this gun violence.
Mhm.
So they did this so-called assault weapons ban. Dianne Feinstein holds up the AR-15, and she goes, this is the problem. And then we hear the quotes like, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in and all that nonsense. Well, 10 years later, the freaking thing sunsetted because it did nothing. It didn't change anything.
No, it never had.
But prior to that, which is one thing that I've been talking about a lot because of these school killings, is the 1990 Crime Control Act that Joe Biden introduced in 1990, which had in it the Gun-Free School Zones Act.
Yeah.
And ever since the Gun-Free School Zones Act, it was part of the Crime Control Act. Ever since that got signed into law, school killings, active shootings have increased by 400%, and school shootings increase at half as many every year. Increases every year, progressively increases every year, school killings, because the teachers and the students, nobody's there to protect the kids. There's no armed security. The idiots put signs on the building that says no guns allowed, which means come on in. It's so stupid. You'd think that they're smart enough to realize that the Gun-Free School Zones Act didn't work, assault weapons ban did nothing, but no, they keep this stuff in place because as those numbers go up, they have more justification for more gun control. John,
No, they don't. We just got taught on Monday the Tennessee trans shooter, specifically just like the Buffalo shooter in New York,
That's the
wrote
security.
it out for us. We have written evidence
that
tells us exactly. I scoped this out. I was searching for targets, and this is the softest target I could find. Why? There's no armed security.
Right.
We saw the same thing 2 weeks beforehand, and it was in, I believe it was Dallas, the Dallas schools, where the 17-year-old shot 2 teachers and then wound up killing himself. Why did he do it? No armed security. They got rid of the armed security because of George Floyd. I can go back over multiple cases, and every single time, San Bernardino shooting. Why did that happen? Because it was a soft target, gun-free zone. No one was there to protect them. What about the shooting in California at the Renaissance Festival? Okay, there's another case. I remember all these. They count on us forgetting these things. I remember all of these shootings, mass shootings, school shootings. It's always the same.
Question for you.
And they always use a tool one way or another. They use some kind of a tool to enforce us to forget it by changing the narrative on it. They're talking about this shooting that this girl did, killing those 6 people. What are the media more outraged of? That we're misgendering the person.
No. That's why I call her the trans. I don't care what the gender is. This is their rules. This is their game. They want to identify trans. They're trans. There you go.
You're not going to find an objecting voice here among us.
Well,
I'm using that as the example of they're detracting from the 3 children and the 3 adults that this girl killed, and what they're more complaining about is that everybody's misnaming her or misgendering her or dead naming her. And I even watched
she's dead. Dead name.
A couple of views, a couple of clips earlier today that I couldn't dig up quick enough. The people out where this happened that are protesting are more concerned about her being misgendering.
Yeah, I know.
The people who are out there advocating for our firearms to be taken away are not blaming her. They're blaming the gun, and they're blaming the media for misgendering her by now saying, "Oh, we're under attack. We're under attack. We're under attack." Oh,
I bet.
John. Oh, go ahead.
I bet those kids and teachers felt like they were under attack too.
Well, in that same vein, I'd like to give a toast out to one of my favorite beers, Heineken. Thank you for not.
At least it ain't that Anheuser-Busch garbage.
I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just going to say
sponsorship
thanks
coming
for
soon.
leaving this bottle normal.
Yeah,
and the way I'm used to it.
John, you were going to say something.
Yeah,
you're on mute.
My big
no,
question
he's sharing a mic.
Oh,
how do we how do we make these things that we're talking about, like the importance of gun-free zones, creating targets for these shooters? How do we persuade people to include that in their cost benefit analysis of looking at these situations? Because you can't even get people to talk about it. I can't get anyone to even have the discussion. They just go off on talking points, and it's frustrating.
We have to remind them that it's already, the cost basis analysis has already been done. Go to Parkland, Florida. The Parkland, Florida schools already did. They did a year-long study. What did they find out? Not only do they need armed security, they need multiple armed security depending on the size of the school. So when David Hogg wants to come out and say, well, what's the solution? The solution is getting rid of the guns. Sorry, David Hogg, your school district said, no, that's not the answer.
Yes.
The answer is what we've been saying.
They don't want to hear
All
it
right.
though.
So do you guys know the history of
Oh,
one
you
of
guys
Dan's
froze up.
relatives as far as school shootings go? Do they know John's story?
No, I don't think anybody really knows John's story. He
Local
was
high school here, probably 10 years ago, armed shooter
Nope.
came in. and
Columbia High.
Columbia High in East Greenbush, New York, and his brother-in-law, right?
My brother-in-law is the one who tackled
He was the
the.
principal. He tackled the guy. So now, when you go to Columbia High School, there's only one entrance open anywhere in the building. You walk in, the doors close, and you're in a bulletproof cubicle until you can prove who you are, and you can't get out. But not that complicated, right? Not that complicated.
No.
Well,
The simple answers. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So we've long been an advocate. I keep challenging parents. I don't know how many times I've said it. If you got kids in a school, if you can get to your kid's school when they got lunch or you were on lunch or something like that, or you got the day off, walk around your school and just check the doors.
Absolutely.
If you can walk into any door on that school and you can walk in more than 5 feet, your school has failed your children as far as safety are concerned. The number one thing that you do is lock the doors. And then if we look at what happened with this girl who shot these 6 people, they have full height glass doors in the school. When I went to school, all the doors were steel, and there was one little window in the door that was 6 inches wide, about 18 inches high, and it had chicken wire embedded in the glass.
Yeah.
So if you broke it, you still couldn't reach through it. If you shot through it, you still couldn't reach through it. There were so many things that were done before the era of the school shooting that we have eliminated because I don't know if it was aesthetic or if it was the goal.
Well, here's the thing. I really believe that they don't want those precautions in place. And here's what Joe Biden just said recently in response to this latest the trans one.
Mm-hmm.
He said we got to do something about this, and we don't want to make the kids feel like they're in prison. So what they're trying to do with those talking points, like kids being in prison, is they're trying to debunk or demonize the Republican viewpoint. The Republican or conservative viewpoint is let's make them hard targets,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't seem to want that. And I know this might sound crazy, but I believe that they don't really mind having these shootings and these killings because, like I was saying before, it makes the numbers go up and it gives them justification to push for more gun restrictions. Now, it's not real justification, like Michael was pointing out, but they use those gun kills. Why do you think they don't do anything about Chicago? See, places like Chicago, Detroit, DC, Newark, and all these real dangerous cities, they don't do anything. And those numbers from those few cities raise the national number of gun-related deaths. And they get to use those numbers to push for more gun restrictions. So I truly believe, and I know it sounds crazy, but I truly believe that they don't want the crime to go down. They don't want the numbers to go down, because if they did, they wouldn't be able to pursue their dream of gun control. You guys go ahead. What do you think of that?
Well, it's absolutely true that they have always. It's because they use fear. Fear is their motivator. If everyone's afraid, they're screaming, "Do something!"
Right.
And then they can do anything, which means the inequivalent exchange. Right. I'm going to let you feel like you can go to sleep at night, like something was done, and you're going to give me all of your rights. You're going to give me all your freedom, and you're going to get screwed because nothing will ever be done because they can always go back and go, see, you didn't give me enough of your freedoms. You didn't give me enough of your rights.
Yeah.
Give me more so that I can let you feel like something happened and you'll go to sleep. And by the way, anyone who disagrees, well, they're evil. They're 1930s Germans. They are just out to get your kids killed. Meanwhile, what are we getting? This, and you won't see this in most of the mainstream US media. You have to go overseas. This is from the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom. Transgender Colorado woman 19 had written down, and they found all the documentation, has been planning for 2 months to shoot up schools in Colorado, looking for yet another soft target to attack. And then was very much inspired by and following behind what we saw in Nashville. So this is an ever-present scenario. And part of the problem with this is, and something people should notice, so that's Uvalde, Nashville, and now in Colorado. What is a thread that's similar through all these? It's that we have a group of individuals who were sold an idea. Again, they're selling them the emotion, the promise. If you change your life irreparably, where you can never change back, you've changed your life forever, you're going to have the perfect life and you're going to feel fantastic and everyone's going to love you. And then they do it. And that's not the solution. It doesn't make their life better. It doesn't make them feel better. They're not okay. And now a small segment of that group is turning around. And now we have 3 examples. What do? I want to end my life by suicide by cop. How do I make sure the cop will shoot me? Fantastic. I go and attack children.
Yep.
That's the problem that they have now. That's the scenario. That's the payoff we are getting for selling our rights for cheap, just for an emotion, to be able to go to sleep at night for 15 minutes a little bit sooner than we would have otherwise. Oh my God, this pisses me off.
And
you know how I
just-
get, Dan. Everybody, well, almost everybody here knows I lose my mind on this stuff.
And just to reinforce what Dan's point is, that they enjoy these things happening, is why we don't ever have a single one of our recommendations ever taken seriously. You can't even bring up arming teachers or increasing security at the schools.
Yeah, well, they've got an argument for that.
You can't.
You want to make teachers carry guns because they want you. They make people envision it's this little old lady and we're forcing her to carry a gun. It's not like that at all. It's like the people who would be inclined to carry, people who are maybe concealed carry holders and stuff like that.
You don't need every teacher
Right,
carrying a gun.
exactly.
Well, we get them.
No.
We get the hogs of the world that they come out and they say, "Oh, well, look at Uvalde and look at Florida. Look at this. The good guy with the gun, he didn't show." No, government didn't show up to save those kids.
Right.
Government didn't show up. When you have guns in the hands of government, expect it to fail. If you have guns in the hands of civilians, it's going to win. And they go, well, why is it going to win? I said, well, have you ever heard of the fight or the flight mechanism? This is something we all have. Do you know how much courage and intestinal fortitude it takes for you to run to gunfire that's not being directed at you?
Crazy.
You have to overcome every fiber in your being that's telling you to go the opposite direction. So that's why police presence fails when they show up, because we're not wired to run to the gunshots, especially if they're not aimed at us. What we are wired to do is fight. Now, you have a better chance of somebody getting into the fight to defend their own lives than getting into the fight to defend somebody else's.
Absolutely. So let them arm themselves, right?
So give these people the opportunity, voluntary basis. Would you like the chance to be able to defend yourself? Do you want the chance to do it? You're making no, nobody's making anybody do anything. If people are willing to step up to the plate, let them step up to the plate. If they don't, they don't. And if you have a school where everybody's a pussy and doesn't want to defend themselves, well, that's where you got to put your armed guards and at least lock the fucking doors.
Right. Fortify the target, right? First.
Exactly. Guys, Dan, John, Anthony, you guys can confirm this for me. because I think I've said it before. I just want to confirm. In every mass shooting, in every school shooting, which are school shootings are just a subset of mass shootings. In every mass shooting that happens, what do we see every time? The first 1 to 3 minutes is the most deadly. 80% of everyone who will die dies within the first 1 to 3 minutes. And that's usually at the end of 3 minutes, usually either at that point the shooter has been confronted, or they've run out of bullets, or they've run out of targets. Almost always in every single one of these scenarios. Tennessee's a little different. It went about 10 minutes before they were confronted. Fine. There's always an exception. But again, this is the average 80% of the time that we see this number. And every time that we've seen that someone is confronted within the first minute, we have a handful. Literally, you could count it on one hand the number of victims that are involved if they're confronted within the first minute.
Right.
And that usually results in the shooter being dead. And of those cases, I believe the number is 60% of the time. It's not because a police officer did it. It's because an armed citizen was on scene and returned fire immediately.
And in most of those cases, the number of fatalities is so low that the media doesn't want to include it in what they consider a mass shooting. So it doesn't get registered as being that a mass shooting got stopped by a good person with a gun. It was just an offhand event that'll usually get parlayed into something else. Oh, it was a domestic violence incident. It was a road rage incident. It was something else. They'll play it off every way they can, except by giving credit to the idea that good people with guns prevent more crimes than the cops do.
You know, I was just thinking about this, John, because you said something and it's playing in the back of my head. See, amongst all of us, we probably have, I'd say 75% more knowledge than the average person running around in America. I'm quoting stuff off the top of my head, and I know the facts. I know Dan's done books on it. He's studied on it. We've both spoken on it at various events. You guys do a podcast on it. We do it here as well. You know what we need? Because they're not, the mainstream media doesn't want to carry the story. We need a couple of actors. We need a couple, really, we just need actors and entertainers to do commercials saying exactly what we just said. Oh, you want to protect the kids? Put a police officer in. Parkland said so, not me. Oh, You want to save people's lives? 60% of all mass shootings that are stopped within the first minute are stopped by someone with a firearm. And that's how we protect people's lives. We need someone going out there, and that's what we need. We need to put together, some angel investor needs to put together a couple of commercials with a couple of entertainers so that they can't shut them down. Because they can't shut down if it was Matt Damon saying this. They're not shutting him off.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood was a great voice. He really was.
He was a great voice, but again, finding somebody to suit the bill that would have the certain amount of influential pull or gravitas is going to be hard pressed just by itself. And then trying to find somebody who's going to be able to do what James Woods did by going on Twitter and pretty much sacrificing his career for the betterment.
It's going to be a self-sacrifice. Well, it's the same with Scott Adams. The same kind of thing is that he knew it was going to be. He's going to lose 80% of his income, but it was time to do it. The media is changing, and if I can make a difference, that's what we need. We need people that are willing to take a stand and make a difference, and it's going to be a sacrifice. It's tough.
Well, the problem is a lot of them see it as a permanent sacrifice. What a lot of them don't realize is if we can get the trend moving in the correct way, you don't sacrifice anything. You're just postponing your gain, because eventually the circle will go around. You'll pick back up where you were and be right back where you started from, if not more powerful, if not richer, whatever the case will be. The reward will be there. Eventually. It's just there's so many of them not willing to do it. Now I look at a guy like Chris Pratt. Okay, Chris Pratt is a outspoken Christian.
Yeah,
he's I don't give a damn about his religious persuasion one way or the other. He could be a Pastafarian. I don't give a shit. Doesn't bother. I don't care. about that. But he's
Rastafarian?
a Second Amendment advocate. He's a relatively, conservative guy. He understands that.
What's a Pastafazulian?
Yeah, he
I think
wore,
he
I
meant
forgot,
Rastafarian.
he wore some sort of Second Amendment related shirt. Tried to go after him to get him fired from, to get Star-Lord replaced in the movies.
Well, Sylvester Stallone just said that he's not hiring any wokesters on his movie.
I ain't gonna deal with that woke. I ain't gonna be none of that woke
Hey,
shit.
Adrian, don't be hiring anybody.
Yo, Paulo.
Hey, Paulo.
So you get somebody like that, and you tell them, and you have a script. Maybe I'll even talk to the guys from Gun Owners of America, see if there's any funds for something like this. Do a TV commercial, but you say, look, it takes whatever 3 to 11 minutes or whatever the average time is, and how many people, like Michael was just saying, how many people get killed in the first 30 seconds or minute or whatever. I would rather, if I had a kid in that school, in that classroom, I would rather the teacher had a gun in his belt or a gun in her purse and took the killer out in 3 seconds rather than 3 minutes. I mean, it just makes logical sense.
It always does.
And Chicago, try getting a cop in Chicago, on the south side or the west side of Chicago, it takes 45 minutes.
Well, think about it.
Over there.
Ever since we did, since 2020, the average time for police to reach in the top 22 cities of America, the response time for police has gone up about 2 minutes. Well, 2 minutes on average, but the response time before that was about 7. So you're looking at about 9, which means real world. When you need them, you're looking at 11 to 15 minutes on the fast. That's in the smaller of the 11 cities. Yeah. If you're in New York,
a Chicago mayor who's calling for another 15% to be cut from the police budget, and all the rest of the stuff.
And they get rid of Beetlejuice. They get somebody 10 times worse.
Yep.
It's just like
it's Chicago. It's Chicago. What do you
It's like you're voting. You're voting to.
It's got to have something to do with that dye they put in the river on St. Patty's Day.
Goes in the house.
They're just crazy, but it's sad that they have been so effective at selling the emotion.
Oh yeah.
And no one, and they're so good at hiding all the data.
Yeah.
And they just persistently. I mean, I hate the news media when none of them will ask the question. The one time I've ever seen anyone ask was just before the election. It was October of 2022. It was August of 2022. CBS News asked Kathy Hochul, governor of New York, asked her while she was running, and asked her, she was going to change. She was put in that new gun law to do what the Supreme Court said she couldn't do.
Yep.
And CBS asked her, is there any data that says that concealed carry holders are more dangerous or commit more crimes?
They're asking for statistics, right?
They asked for the statistics. Is there any numbers that say concealed carry holders are more dangerous, commit more crimes, or that it's increasing at all? Any kind of data? And her answer was the most honest answer I've ever seen from a politician about this. She said, and I can pull up the video if anyone ever doubts it. I'm talking to the audience out there. And what she said was, I don't need data.
Right.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
Then you're just making this up. You're just making it up as you go. You're the worst politician ever. You have no justification for what you're doing. So why are you doing this? Because it makes you feel good. Well, screw you. It makes me feel bad, and it's hurting kids real world. It is endangering people real world, and that's not an answer.
But it is an answer, and that's what's sad. I think because people that I talk to are so programmed that they've decided what sources are credible, and that's who they believe. So whatever they say, they believe it, and they never look any further than that. So like you say, when you ask somebody a question, at least if they're honest and say they don't know or don't need it, I'd rather hear that than people that argue around the point and bring up all different situations. And I'm like, yeah, but you're missing this huge chunk of information here, and you're ignoring it intentionally, it appears. That's what's really frustrating.
It drives me nuts. It's like when I tell people, I've had this, I've been at speeches and talked to members of Congress in New York State, the red flag laws, which Dan knows I lose my crap on that. Red flag laws are so completely useless. Do you know that every state that has a red flag law, what they are also doing is they're taking children away from parents?
Oh yeah, sure.
Now, I know, Dan, you've heard me talk about this
That's-
before. I know everyone on the channel has. Did you guys in Loaded Mike, Anthony and John, did you guys know that they're taking kids away from families because of the red flag laws?
Did
Yep.
we talk about that? Yeah,
Oh,
I'm pretty sure we talked about it. Well, it's all part of the whole overall narrative, right? Is we
Well-
decide what's right and we do what we think is right and screw you, basically.
Well, that ties into two things. One, the
Sorry,
left
guys.
hates the nuclear family, and two, just like you were saying, when people say we've got to do something, it's never good.
Never.
So
That's why I tell people who have guns, don't tell people what you have.
Yeah, no.
Don't show them pictures of stuff. Don't show it on Facebook. You're putting yourself out there. You piss the wrong person off. You're like, well, they call the cops on him.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't tell anybody I carry. It's none of their business.
Yeah, I've
Right.
never, I always, I've never admitted or denied my position or my status as a gun owner. I will never, I have no position officially on that.
But
Anthony pulled his gun at the studio the other day
Yeah, put it right in your face.
to show me proper trigger technique. And I really appreciated it.
I don't know.
Well-
Frank can attest to it. If somebody doesn't own one and wants to own a gun,
Yes, yes. If somebody would like
Oh,
a
that's
gun,
true. Mhm.
yes, for just $15 annual fee, you can get a premium membership to the Liberty First Foundation membership program. And one out of every 250 new members
It's a free pen.
will have a random drawing made for the receival of a Henry Golden Boy lever action 22 long rifle in custom engraved. And I guarantee it's not been pulled out of the safe to be put on the show, was it? No, you're gonna now he's gonna run away from the camera and he's gonna get all screwed up. But anyway, getting back to this bullshit. You know why David Hogg is such a anti-Second Amendment guy?
Because he gets paid.
Because he's got 5 million reasons to in the bank.
Yep.
I commented on one of his tweets yesterday. I was just out of my mind. I'm like,
Did he respond?
I don't even know. I don't even pay attention. You know, it's
Oh yeah, he is
Oh,
the,
that's
he is
nice.
the
Yeah,
laser
that's beauty.
engraved Henry Golden Boy rifle that one of our new 250 members will be receiving this as a random thank you for helping support our efforts in our
I'll
fight
check
for
that
the
out.
preservation of the Second Amendment.
Does it come with an Obama phone?
Obama
You can't-
doesn't. Oh,
You can't ship that to New York.
Yeah, right.
we'll get it.
Right,
close.
That's what was so
Well,
great
with-
about SHOT Show. We could go touch all these guns. None of them were legal in New York State. You could pick them up and look at them.
Well,
I'm
Get in
in
the
my
candy
house to
store.
be in 25 pieces.
well, the
Here's
reason
your
why,
gun.
the reason why we selected the Golden Boy as our gift rifle was because it is one of the few guns that is all 50 state legal.
Good man.
So we wanted to make sure that we weren't offering something as a benefit that not everybody would have an equal opportunity to be able to own and enjoy.
Very nice.
You know, because
I'm pretty sure Hope will figure out how to take it from me.
because it was either going to be that or we were going to be giving away a black powder 44 Magnum.
No.
See if we could get one of these out there for people. But
Sorry, shameless plug for the giveaway.
hey, if we're not promoting ourselves, then who the hell else is?
That's
But yeah,
for
but
sure.
so I did the numbers on David Hogg. He's worth well over $5 million now. Shannon Watts is worth over $5 million. Now, every one of these anti-gun mouthpiece zealots has all got a book deal, a TV movie deal, or something else in the works that they've already cashed in on, and under no way, shape, or form are they going to ever turn around and admit that they're not advocating against the Second Amendment because they hate the Second Amendment, but they're advocating on it because they're standing on the bodies of children and
Mhm.
soaking their hands in blood money. Because for that little piece of shit, David Hall, oh, my family's always been around guns. And he takes to the range and he shows his 104-pound self shooting a 12 gauge with the lightest possible, shell load he could handle, shooting at clays. Oh, we're a gun family.
Yeah.
Shut up. Just shut up. You weren't even there. You rode your bicycle there when you found out the news crew showed up.
He's so disingenuous, but they all are. But nothing's worse than news media. They're so disingenuous. It's gotten to the point, and I've done it live before. I mean, you can just tell the story and how quick it's going to die off the news. Like the Dallas shooting, that disappeared in 2 days. Why? Black shooter. How did I know it was a black shooter? Because in the headline, they didn't mention that he was white, didn't mention his age or anything about him. They just said a shooter. Oh, it took a day before we could find out. Oh, yeah, he was black. Oh, yeah, we can't talk about that. How fast did the Tennessee, the same day that story was being killed? Why? Oh, they're trans. When it was a woman, they were like, oh, my God, it's a woman.
What's with the manifesto? Have we seen that?
No.
All
No.
the people.
They're not even releasing it.
No.
What's with
FBI
that?
has it.
Well, we do have one piece of information, and that was that the trans terrorist decided to go for that school because it was a soft target, and she was looking at another school, but there was a lot more security. That came out in a police report.
Yes.
I don't know how they knew that. Maybe that came from the manifesto. I don't know where they got that information, but that is true. That's why she chose that school.
Didn't she attend that school though?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
She had attended it years prior.
She was five,
and targeted
5
some of
years
her
old.
instructors as well as a few students.
Well, from what I don't want to speak out of school because until we get confirmation of a lot of these things that, because there's going to be so many rumors surrounding this thing until we know for a fact everything. I mean, guys, we still don't know what happened in Vegas. All right.
Yeah, we never.
All right. That shit's still up in the air yet too.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, with the little girl that she killed at that school was the daughter of a minister that was trying to help her through her conversion or some such shit. And that was part of why she went there, because it was a revenge killing. So this is, look, there is so much. The bottom line is that some of these people in this world are mentally fucked up beyond all help. And if we're not willing to protect our children with the same gusto that we're willing to protect our banks, then we have no business putting our kids in public school. None whatsoever.
Every time there's one of these school killings or any kind of these killings that when it's gun related, there's always people who come out and propagandize the situation by going on CNN and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned the Las Vegas one. We were just in Vegas at SHOT Show. We could look out our hotel room and see the actual where it occurred. And now there was a guy named Brian Claypool who went on CNN right after the killing, and he went on with my friend Jan Morgan, who you can see in this picture over here in back of me. So Jan went on as a pro Second Amendment commentator. Brian Claypool comes on as a anti-gun, and he starts crying and he starts putting on the show and using the propaganda words and getting angry and doing all the stuff, all the rhetoric, and saying that he was at the show, he was in the front rows or whatever, and he was a victim, a survivor of the Las Vegas. So you wonder, is this really true? So I researched this guy Brian Claypool, and I found out that he had prior to that, he went on CNN talking about all sorts of stuff. He was on for climate change. He was on for spay and neuter your pets. I don't know, whatever. He was on for all different things. And then he comes on, and he's saying that he's a victim of the survivor of the Vegas shooting, and then coincidentally, he's an attorney, and he he represents the people who are victims. So
Gee.
he thought it was all a big charade, and I couldn't believe that people were believing this. All you had to do was do a little research on this guy, and
he
he's
can
been recently he's coming back out of the woodwork doing some other shows and stuff too.
Well, he can represent out of a point of empathy. Not only is he a lawyer, but he's a survivor.
Yeah, right.
He can represent on climate change because it's his air too.
Well, I'd like to see one photo of this guy at the event. I would love to see it. You think that they would show. He wasn't, as far as I'm sure he wasn't there. I'm sure it was all a big hoax because, like I said, he came out and did other shows for CNN. He was a commentator on any topic they needed. So, I guess my point is that whenever there's one of these killings, there's always people in the wings waiting to come in and play the game.
And the media has those wings fully packed.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that they even have to pick up the phone and call up and say, hey, I got a story to tell. The media's already got them sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
All right, here's your cue. Bring them on in.
Right.
And they always have the worst person. In almost every case, they have the worst person possible speaking on our side, the person who has no data.
Yeah.
And then they couple that with, and this is the problem, they're only going to spend a minute and a half on all these stories, which means you have a minute and a half to try, and at best, a minute and a half to try and convey information. And you're getting some of the worst spokesmen possible. They don't go to Dan. They don't go to me. They don't go to you, to Frank. They don't go to you, John or Anthony. No. Guys who are actually out there, everybody who's out there and actually talking about this, who are actually speaking about, know the data and can quote the data. No, we're verboten. We can't possibly be talked to. I've got 17 years of doing this. I know, Dan, you've been doing this for well over a decade. Frank's been involved for well over a decade. We all have.
I've had a couple of shows. I did a radio show in Canada, and I did, I don't know what it was, an NBC affiliate radio show, and they tried to stump me, and they tried to, give me a hard time. Okay, here comes the gun nut. Let's try to block them up, and let's try to give them some gotcha questions. They had a horrible time with me, and they couldn't. They're
hard to handle.
They couldn't just because I knew what I was talking about, and they couldn't get what they wanted out of me. So they never called me back.
No, that's the thing. If we can get on, it'll be once. Because then they'll go, oh, no, we can't do that again. No.
That's why I just direct everybody I know on social media that has any kind of questions. I direct them to podcasts like you guys and different things, because you have to go look at a long form discussion about something if you're going to have any kind of understanding of what you're talking about. Like you say, the minute and a half is actually worse than nothing in a lot of situations, because like you said, Michael, if they have the wrong people out there and they're not articulate and prepared to get their point across and can handle some kind of backlash, it looks bad,
Yeah. And they count on it. They count on that.
Yeah.
It's just sad. And that's why it's not, and the funny thing is, well, not funny. The odd thing is the number of mass shootings really hasn't increased. It's about the same as it has been for the last 45 years. It's just that
more publicized.
Yeah. Exactly, Jeremy.
Now plus they're publicized. They all look like copycat things, and then people are saying, "Look at all these things that are happening." And I want to tell the news media, you're promoting this, you're putting it out there, and you're glamorizing the part. Not glamorizing, but you're covering the parts of it that you think are important, and you're not covering all the other data points that we're talking about. So people get the same biased view over and over and over again. Why would they believe anything else? It's perfect.
Well, we also have the two different points of view with the media that comes out, where one says, don't give these mass shooters any coverage at all. Don't ever mention their name. Don't show their face. Don't do this. Don't whatever.
I agree with that.
Let it fade into oblivion. Then you have the other one that says, no, we need to put these people out there so that we can show for what they are, the evil or the mental issue that they have, because without knowing who they are and why they did what they did, we're not going to have a resolution to it. Well, my solution is don't ever say their name.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever show them as they were in life. Don't ever explain their philosophy, their malady, or whatever else. Just, hey, there was a mass shooting today, and this was the result of what happened to the shooter, and then show their bodies strewn out, unfazed, not blocking out anything, and show them riddled with the bullets that go into
see the
them and
Twister?
blow them to pieces.
Huh?
The Twister picture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because maybe the next person who gets this idea in their head that they should be a mass shooter will get to see what that chick looked like after they opened fire on her in the school.
They
And
see all the
maybe
fame, but they don't see any of the actual consequences, right?
Yeah, show them the end result. Yeah, okay. This winter, we're not even going to tell you how many people this person did something to, but this is what happened to them. You think their parents are going to enjoy putting this body in a casket that they now have to close the lid on because their face got blown off by the cops? No.
There's a term for that, Frank. The
What's
term
that?
is fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's kind of my thing is, if we talk about everybody being desensitized, we haven't shown them something to be desensitized to. Let's show the end result of what's happening, what happens to these people.
Yeah.
When they come out there and they hurt America's children. Show them what happens. And maybe that'll say, maybe that's such a good idea. Everybody likes to eat their steak, but nobody wants to visit the slaughterhouse, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Sausage.
Well,
let's show it in graphic detail.
No, I agree with you.
And I believe in public executions for criminals.
Well, they serve a purpose too. But Dal made a good point when we were talking about what the worst person possible. It's the Jon Stewart interview. He made a great point. Remember that interview, which was edited on top of being a bad response? It was also just a bad response. That's what we get to see. And that's what pisses me off, because Jon Stewart, especially people like Jon Stewart, or what's the Brit?
Pierce Morgan.
Week, whatever.
Pierce Morgan?
No, the one on HBO.
I don't know his name.
I forget his name, but you know who I'm talking about. They're so disingenuous, and they know better. They know better. They know the data, and they know they're being disingenuous.
How about Dan's friend Cenk?
Oh God, him.
Cenk Uygur, yeah.
Yeah, he attacked me. I remember him.
He's delightful.
He attacked us.
Well, what did he say? We just had a clip on him. He said that he's normally against guns. He wouldn't suggest anybody get a gun because you're less safe. But with the trannies, he says you should get guns because everybody's out to get you. They're all trying to attack you. So he wants the tranny people to get guns so they can either defend themselves or go out and kill. And he said this 3 weeks before this Nashville killing. So, are these people, do they take any responsibility for the stuff they say? I don't know.
No, of course not. He's protected on high, just like Joe Biden is. They're protected because the news media is either going to spin what they said or forget what they said conveniently.
Yeah.
Just like they conveniently forget that Joe Biden, almost every statement he's ever made about the Second Amendment has been wrong.
Yeah.
You can't own a cannon. Yes, I can. Oh, you've never been able to own a cannon. You can't own an F-16 or a tank. Yes, you can. And Americans do. At this very second, you have 732,000 Americans own machine guns right now. There's about 14,000 machine gun owners, not rifles, machine guns, actual machine guns. 14,000 of them in New York State, 30,000 of them in New Jersey. We have similar numbers in every single state. The smallest state, I believe, is Rhode Island, that has, if I remember correctly, 5,000 machine guns. No one's using the machine guns. There are
shooting anybody.
Yeah,
they're
there's a couple
expensive.
dozen people who own tanks. There's over 10,000 rocket launchers and another 10 to 20,000 flamethrowers that are owned by American citizens. No one's using them. So they're wrong. And meanwhile, we're spending $113 billion in Ukraine to give them what? M16s and rifles and handguns and bullets.
Don't you love the tweeters? they're all anti-gun, but they're all arm the Ukraine.
Yep.
These people need to defend their nation. They have to defend themselves. Do you ever look in the fucking mirror and just compare it to a photograph of you naked bending over? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I can't tell the difference. It's an asshole in both pictures.
Well, they're admitting to the value of the Second Amendment because those people need to defend themselves against a tyrannical government or against war or whatever.
Oh no, but then they say, oh no, but you can't because America has the military. We don't need the civilians to be armed. The Ukraine doesn't have a good military, so it needed the people. But America has a great military. They don't need the people to have the guns.
We're wearing skirts now.
Oh, for God's sake.
They're wearing skirts. We
All
lowered
right.
the standards. We missed all the recruitment numbers, at least for the Army, by 15,000. And they're not on U.S. soil. Soldiers are not supposed to patrol our soil. We are on our soil. Our soldiers are supposed to be overseas. They kind of forget that part.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they've never been in the military. I have.
You know, I'll tell you one thing about I'm getting a little bit disturbed by some of these little YouTube shorts and tweet talks, TikToks, whatever the hell all of this crap is that I'm seeing. Where you have what is purportedly an active member of U.S. military branch, you know, getting on there saying, "Oh, it's the guns, and if we ever have to come again, you know, if we tell you to get in your house, you don't get in your house, you're the enemy."
Yeah.
There's a woke contingent in our military that has been deliberately recruited and fast-tracked into positions of authority that we don't even know that it's going on, but it's going on, and it's going to be frightening. You know,
we know
because
what's happening. It's called General Mark Milley, who I consider a traitor.
Well, listen, that guy with the dog face mask on, because we know that was him in the photo. I can't bullshit us on that. But you know, there's too much of this shit going on. And I'm concerned, you know, about what happens if and when the day that should ever happen to come. You know, because you got to keep reminding these folks in uniform, listen, if you're stationed here and they tell you to go do that in somebody else's hometown, remember, there's probably somebody in somebody else's station being ordered to do the same thing in your hometown.
They know where you live.
So while you're pointing a gun at mom and pop America, some other soldier somewhere else might be pointing the same gun that you have at your parents.
Well, don't forget that
long and hard about what you're going to do.
The mayor of Salt Lake during COVID asked for the Utah National Guard to come out and make sure people stayed in their houses and weren't traveling.
Yeah, we're New Zealand all of a sudden.
So, anyways, gentlemen, I got to go. I got
started on New Zealand. Fuck New Zealand.
I got some stuff I got to attend to. It was great to be on. I'm sorry I couldn't stay the whole time. I will catch you all next week.
Absolutely.
Good. Love to the family and all the rest of that, my friend.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks. See ya.
It's amazing, guys. You know, and I love having these conversations because when we have these conversations, it's amazing how often we can all point out and go, oh, here's an example, and here's what we're talking about, and here's the numbers. And when regular people are talking, when we listen to the news media talk, they do none of that. It's so nice to hear people go, well, yeah, and here's another example. You know, and it's like, yeah, I knew I was right. But if you listen to the talking heads, you listen to the CNBCs and CNNs out there, you'd think that all 165 million gun owners are running around, either they're Rambo or they're part of the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah.
If you're listening to them, that's what you would think. Hey, Pete.
Hey-o.
Guys, this is my brother Petey right down here. All right. Now that we've already broken the F-bomb thing for the evening, I'm just going to tell you, if you ask what the initials stand for, that means I'm the motherfucker that gets shit done. That's
I know a guy just like that. Dan just met him.
So Pete's been in his studio this evening. Pete's been in the studio for the evening, watching from afar. wanted to wait till we had some extra slot that we had open, and we haven't had Jeremy in a while. He's been working his ass off, and
He has a lot better things
Jeremy.
to say than I do anyway, so let him in.
But Pete's one of the few that's in my age group that still has school age kids that is often have a perspective, because I mean everybody knows I don't have any kids. All right, so when I talk about people's kids and people say, oh well, why do you care about kids so much? You don't even have kids. I don't care about my kids. I care about your kids. You should be caring about your kids too. Pete's one of the guys. He's got a couple of girls that are in school right now, dealing with a lot of this stuff. Pete, are the schools where your kids go to, are they hardened targets?
Actually, they are. I believe it was. I wasn't sure if it was Ant or John that said earlier with the glass box, the bulletproof box. We got those here.
Cool.
There is no way. I mean, they even know me, and it's like, show me your ID. Well, all right, there you go. Before I can get anywhere.
Now it was funny about. Oh, this is going back quite a while, maybe about 10 years ago now. Like I said, I don't have any of my own kids, but Lori has a daughter that's my kid, and we all went to an event at the school in our neighborhood in Afton, New York. Now, in Afton, New York, the school is usually pretty hardened up. It's got 2-row double doors and everything else like that, and you can't get in there. You got to ring a doorbell. They run a camera, the whole spiel. But we went there one night, and this is on the onset of winter, so it's starting to get a little cold. I'm wearing a long black overcoat and stuff like that. We went there one night for a basketball game, and there's got to be a couple of hundred people in there, and all the doors are wide open. And they're letting everybody in to the basketball game. Here's the sporting event going on there. They got an opposition school, so there's a school bus from another school. They got parents from other schools. There's people walking in and out of there, and I'm looking around and I said, what the hell good is having those doors? and I remember saying, it would take nothing for somebody to come into this building now with whatever they wanted on their person, walk up to a janitor's closet, which most of them are probably going to be unlocked because who cares, right? Stow whatever they want to in a closet where nobody's going to see it, maybe tuck it up into a ceiling, put it behind a desk, put it behind a filing cabinet where nobody knows, and then come back the next day and go through the metal detector. I'm clean. I got nothing on me. You can't do this. You can't do that. And then walk around the school, collect whatever they wanted to do. Now, how do we respond to a situation like that? Now we've got
you have staff and teachers with guns.
Bingo.
That's the only way.
Yep.
That's the only way, because you're not going to get a forenotice. You're not going to get a forewarning. You're not going to have somebody who's having to leave the door propped open with a rock or a garbage pail so somebody can get into the building. You have to be able to confront things immediately, as quick as possible. And the best person to confront the threat is the person who's most likely to be victimized by it. And the fact that, these schools know nothing at all about security.
I forget which one it was Parkland maybe, or one of them. And there was a story of the teachers. Some of the teachers, the kindergartners, I think it was Parkland. The teachers were literally shielding the kids with their own bodies because they cared so much about protecting those kids, and they had no other means except to use their body as a shield, and they end up dead as a result. But that just shows you that these people are desperate. These teachers are desperate to save these kids. And I'm sure that if they were allowed to carry guns, that they would. I mean, even if they're not trained, maybe some of them would choose to get trained to do that. Because I know if I was, and I would want to, I always have my gun on me anyway, but just the idea that they would protect the children with their own lives, knowing that they're going to die, tells me that they would probably have preferred to have a gun.
Well,
And
that's happened.
I remember hearing people say, "Oh, you're going to have them go through the burden of having to get trained, get licensed, and buy a gun." I'm like, wait a minute. Teachers are throwing their bodies over their kids to protect them. You don't think that that's more strenuous
Right.
than going
Well,
to
think
an
of it-
NRA class and
Well,
going
think of it the
target
other way.
shooting?
Think of it the other way. It's so you're saying that the convenience of being dead is more beneficial than protecting kids and possibly saving their lives. And it's happened in Uvalde, Columbine. It's happened in Boulder. There's multiple schools that we can go through, and Parkland was also one of them. So it's not that it's just happened once. These teachers are going to try and save kids' lives, which is beautiful. I admire and I'm happy that they did that. How many times we've had a couple of coaches? There was a recent one last year, November. Coach got shot because he was rushing. He was rushing at the shooter. Remember the miracle? What do they call it? The miracle 30 seconds. You've got 30 seconds to try and tackle the person when they are reloading, which is complete crap. Anyone who's ever reloaded a firearm knows it ain't 30 seconds. You got 3. And that's if someone's really stupid and doing it slow. That you've got 3. And a coach tried to tackle a guy and got shot. They will put their lives on the line.
Yeah.
We know this. Why not give them the tools to do it properly?
What was the thing we were talking about, Anthony? We were talking about on the show, and remember it was a clip, and the guy said, "Just get out of the house when if you're under attack."
Oh yeah,
What?
just turn around and run.
Yeah,
Oh, how
so
am I
they're
supposed to
trying to
defend myself?
justify, being unarmed or unarmed
Just get
by
out of the
saying,
house.
"Well, if somebody comes in your house, just grab the kids and get out of the
And
house."
run.
Just
Hey,
get out.
bro, wait a minute. I gotta go get the kids.
Just go.
Don't shoot me yet. That never works.
That is probably the most idiotic.
Yeah.
Forget about cowardly. Just forget that part. That is
they
the most
believe it.
stupid plan I've
They
ever
believe it.
heard
Yeah.
about dealing with a life and death confrontation.
And
Just
in
try
the
and
same
run.
clip that Dan's talking about, the same guy says, "How you going to defend yourself against somebody with an AR-15?" And the girl says, "With my own damn AR-15."
So you
There
saw
you go.
it. You saw that clip. Yeah.
Hey, answer your own question, dumbass.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then he goes, "Oh, so you're going to have everybody's got 30 rounds. That's 90 rounds. You're going to be shooting guns in the house." And they try to create this scenario where it looks ridiculous. That's what they want to do. They want people who don't know any better to think that having a gun to defend yourself is this just ridiculous notion. And so they'll try to make it look stupid. Well, just get out of the house. Yeah. What am I? The guy's shooting me. I'm just gonna hold on a minute. Let me grab the kids. The kids are in the other room. You're gonna round up the kids. You're gonna get out. It's so stupid, but they don't care. They stick to their story because they will find any way to justify their anti-gun position. That's all.
It's
Yeah.
The one that I love is the fact that you value your things more than human lives.
Right.
No, you
Yes.
value my things more than your life.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
the
was a
only way you're
meme
getting
about
my
that.
things is you had to come through my door into my space, and I now have to trust that the only thing that you're interested in is my microwave. I now have to trust you, the criminal. You're the criminal in my domicile. I have to have full faith and confidence that the only thing that you were after was the air fryer. Yeah, no, it don't work that way. It don't work that way. I don't trust the mosquito flying into my house is there to take a look around. I don't think that the criminal popped through the window is there just to sightsee.
You ever see the video where the guy
people are
puts his
freaking
hand through
stupid.
the mail slot and he hits him with the hammer?
Oh God.
That's the funniest
Oh.
thing with the cat sound, with the Tom and Jerry sound.
I found it.
Wow.
That was
I
classic.
found it.
That classic.
Check this out.
That shit never gets old.
You see this, Frank?
You want me to add that to the stream?
Yep. Here's the meme. If you kill somebody breaking into your house, it's because you value your things more than someone else. Me. So anyway, I started blasting.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito.
I like that meme. That's a good one. Yeah, hell yeah, I like my stuff more. I work for it. It's my stuff.
Uh-oh. He's
What
going
was
to
that
get
guy?
something.
Yeah.
He's going to get something.
What's he doing?
Are you making us tea, Frank?
There's going to be barrels on the screen in 2 seconds.
He's
He's
got
breaking
something
his
there.
other foot. Now he's breaking his
I don't
other
know,
foot.
I just knocked a whole bunch of shit off my desk. What are you gonna do? Hey, listen. Just a quick tip. You know what they always say, that the most intimidating sound that a burglar will ever hear is that.
Yeah.
All right. I want to clarify something for you. The burglar should never hear that.
You should have already
What
done
the
it.
burglar that should be done before the burglar gets there.
One
This
in the
is the most
chamber?
intimidating
Yeah.
sound. That little click is the safety coming off. This should have already been done. So just a quick tip for you.
No.
You know, the most intimidating sound that you're going to hear is the safety coming off of the shotgun. Get a shotgun. And then what you do is you go outside and you let off 2 blasts. And that'll scare everybody away.
I'm down.
And you can take that advice because it comes directly from the President of the United States.
There you go.
A noted
Shotgun Joe.
firearm enthusiast and proponent of the Second Amendment.
I call him Stupid Joe.
God, he's
I call him
just,
Sleepy Joe, the kid snipping pedo.
yeah, that's it. That man's got issues.
The
He's an
kid
idiot.
sniffing pedo.
I just like when he
And
shows up.
Dan's done.
He shows up
You
at
broke
10
Dan.
They got
Sleepy
great ice
Creepy
cream
Joe,
here.
the kid sniffing pedo.
They got great ice cream here in Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He is so-
he's a sucker for chocolate chip.
that man, I don't even know. The only reason why I think they keep letting him speak is because Kamala Harris is worse.
Oh, she's terrible.
Literally
Is
everywhere.
she still in
Kamala
Africa?
Harris-
The
No,
only way
No,
back-
she's
came
in
back
she's
last
in
week.
Tennessee now.
Oh,
She's in
probably-
Tennessee with the 2 Dems that just got tossed.
Yes, and they
Oh,
should
so
have been.
she's over there kowtowing to the trans community, letting them know that we see them.
Tackling.
We see them. That's it. That's all we need to do is see them.
We see them. We've been seeing them for decades. It's not new. You know, the one thing the trans community should be terrified of is that Kamala is speaking on their behalf. Everywhere she has ever shown up, she has made the situation worse. Literally,
she's
if you
dumber.
track everywhere she's ever gone and
Goodness,
spoken on behalf of the United States,
You just seen it.
it is immediately worse than before she showed up. Every time.
I love trans. Trans are fun.
Yeah, it's like, oh
I
my
mean,
God.
imagine how that press conference is gonna go.
And again, listen, if anybody thinks other, nobody's got a damn thing against anybody.
No, nobody cares.
This is the
I
best
don't-
country.
I don't give a flying shit what you do.
Nope.
Do you, do your buddy. I don't care. Do each other. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. There's a song written about that. I don't care. Nobody gives a damn. Nobody cares. Nobody's coming for you. Nobody's coming after you.
Well, here's a
And,
here's
and
a quick
Lori
story for
Lightfoot's
you.
out there saying the Supreme Court is coming after our community.
Bullshit.
Listen,
I have a
nobody gives a
photographer
shit.
friend of mine.
they don't want you putting.
No, go ahead, John. Go
I
ahead.
have a photographer friend of mine who I've been just become friends with on Facebook. I've been seeing him at jazz shows. Nice guy, Asian fella, probably 60. And he keeps putting up all these memes about just what you're talking about. It's like the people on the right are coming after this and they're chasing you down, and the Christians are doing this. And like we said in your second book, where are all these people? And I asked him, I said, have you had that happen to you? He says, oh, I had it happen to me back in the 80s when I was in college. I'm like, okay. But then again, in the 90s, a couple times it happened to me too. And I said, you're one person and it's 2023. Is that your database that you're drawing from in order to judge half the country? What is wrong with people?
Yeah.
Nice guy. Jeez.
Yeah, but they never get it right because, let's see, I will compare any and every event by conservatives across this nation over the last 50 years to, we can pick anything in a year. And I guarantee you, I will compare them, all of them compared to Atlanta, looking at the Defenders of the Atlanta Forest, which is an offshoot of Antifa and BLM. How much damage did the Defenders of the Atlanta Forest create in just the last week? Oh, excuse me, the last month and a half. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars between the destruction of the state's property and also buildings inside the city, and the threat that I've had people tell me directly, they feel threatened in the city of Atlanta because of these foreigners. These are people who are coming from France. They're coming from Canada.
Right.
They're coming from every state except Georgia. They're not even Georgians. And they're going down, trying to burn down. And let's think about this. What are they burning down? The Atlanta City Council decided to use the property so that the police would be better trained to serve the public better, so that the fire department would be better trained to serve the people better, so that the EMS, emergency medical services, would be better trained to serve the people better. But these guys coming from other states and other countries said, no, the elected city council of Atlanta don't know what they're doing protecting the people. How dare they? No, we should just let them burn everything down because they have an autonomous zone, which is insurrectionist, which is by definition treasonous, because they reject every local, state, and federal law. I will compare every single event by conservatives, including January 6th, to the damage done in Atlanta in 1 month. And I guarantee you, every single time you'll see the left is far, far worse. and they're not, and that's not the, and people don't even realize how many autonomous zones exist in this country right now. There's another one in California. There's another one in Illinois. I believe they're still trying to put one together in Austin. I mean, these are you want to talk about insurrection. You want to talk about violence. Look at every single autonomous zone that is in this country that has existed since 2019. Actually, you can go back into 2017, but just picking them since 2019, every single one of them has done more damage than January 6th by multiples.
They still got that the Wall Street encampment up by the traffic circle in Johnson City.
The Occupy movement.
Yeah, the occupiers.
No, they gave up after the winter. When the winter hit, they went home.
Oh, that's right. They didn't. They
Can't
didn't
handle
like
the cold.
No,
They
they don't
don't
like Northeast cold.
I mean, who doesn't love winter in Binghamton? A pleasant fucking weather effect. you know?
Yeah.
I'm curious about the comment we have.
Oh, with Jan?
Well, that's all right. This is Jan Rains. Jan's one of our long-time friends here. She's been on the show with us a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
As Jan says, she's our resident homo.
Not
my words.
I thought you couldn't say that.
That's just I'm just quoting. I'm quoting. But Jan is exactly right when it comes to a lot of this stuff. My like everybody knows my sister is gay, okay? And I've had the argument. Even though my sister is gay, she's of the conservative bent as far as most other politics go. And we've had the discussion about what the gay movement went through in the 60s and 70s. Because in the 50s, let's face it, no one was talking about it. Nobody was ever going to talk about it because you had, it was a complete taboo that you would never even see or hear about. But when the 60s and 70s came out and you started having the people in the gay movement starting to say, hey, listen, we're over here and we really don't like getting the shit kicked out of us all the time. Can you please stop? It was a minimal movement. It started, and eventually, after 50 years, got equality on most levels. Everything got equality. I think the big thing was the whole gay marriage thing. That was the last real signal that said, okay, equality is here. What's happened with all of these other movements is that they've all coattailed the work that everybody else has done, and then use that work to exploit their own benefit.
And it radicalized everything.
Well, BLM has exploited the civil rights movement to well beyond what the civil rights movement was about. Martin Luther King Jr. would never recognize what BLM looks like. The equal rights for gay and lesbians that civil rights movement would never even recognize what they've turned it into with all of the rest of these 64,000 other genders and wanting this, that, and everything else. Why are furries, these people that have a certain affinity for dressing up in crotchless animal coverings? Why
you said you wouldn't tell.
Okay. That's just your faces, furry. But there are so many different groups that are so far beyond the fringe of what these groups started off with that have said, you know what? All these groups have made tremendous strides, and they're already where we want to be. So let's just jump on their wagon and take all the credit for all the work that they did, because we never had any skin in the game up until this point. And now they come in and they say, we want to be on the same exact equal footing as everybody else is because they did the work. But they didn't do anything.
No.
I think there's something else about that. Here's a theory I have about it. The fact is, all the movements in America, they've all won. They won back in the 1980s, 1990s. America made the transition, whether it's about black or gay or name your group. We pretty much made this transition to acceptance and tolerance back by the mid 90s at the latest. And we saw that in movies. We saw that in entertainment. We saw that in books. We saw that on TV and news conferences. We saw that especially in education. We made that transition and no one cared. No one cared. We had the Jeffersons, we had the Good Times, we had the Huxtables, we had the Fresh Prince, and they talked about all of these things. We had TV shows and soap in the 1970s, had Billy Crystal being gay as hell. We had this, and we made the acceptance. And then they realized something very important. By about the mid 2000s, 2005, 2006, they suddenly realized we don't have any money. They ran out of money because they had nothing to fight for, because they were accepted and everyone didn't care. So they didn't have an argument anymore. Malcolm X, the movie came out, won awards, was up for Best Actor, Best Picture, made tons of money, made Spike Lee go to the next level on his abilities. Everyone was lauding everything that he put out there. We broke through. Everyone broke through. All the groups that you can name, women, everybody had broken through, and
offended someone at the algorithm on Facebook.
Michael, we lost your audio.
He says, "Yep, just
let him go."
Right on time.
Yep.
Here we are.
And that was
There we
the
go.
moment we lost Michael.
Yeah. You seen me yesterday. They dropped me a couple times. Facebook actually cut me off completely for 3 hours. Well, I was saying, so all the money was gone. And all these groups were saying, wait a minute, where's all the money? We have no more money because everyone accepts and everyone's dealing with it and everyone's okay. So much so that no one's talking about these things because they weren't problems anymore. And then in 2008, they found a wonderful way to get back. Obama. one of the last glass ceilings. Get the president. Okay, Obama will do it. And what did he promise? I'm going to transform America. That's actually a partial sentence. Anyone who studies English should know this. That's not a sentence. That's a partial sentence. He forgot to end the sentence with to what? Transform America to
In
what?
just 5 days, was the beginning of the fundamental transformation of America.
That's right. And he always stopped at transform America to what? What are we transforming and what are we transforming into? Well, we found out under Obama.
It's
What?
got to be something in the family because his wife has a book called Becoming Michelle Obama.
Well,
Michael.
hey, there's a whole thing about that.
Oh, what did she
Michael.
saw it as?
Well,
Mike.
That's Mike. Magic
yeah,
Mike.
that's
I'm
the
just
rumor.
saying.
That's right.
That's the rumor. But and then what did
Just
we get?
saying.
We got and under Obama, we got the beer summit, we got BLM, we started getting all the transition. And if you look back, and I have, and we start looking at the trans movement, it started gaining attention in the schools and colleges about 2016 at the end of the run of Obama. That's when they started making the push on the trans movement. That's when you started seeing all the articles coming about and all the literature that's been cited is going back to about 2016. That's the transformation of America. And now they brought it back and said, it's equity. It's not about equality anymore. Martin Luther King, they literally, critical race theory tells you under Professor Darrell Brooks says that Martin Luther King was wrong. He shouldn't have been looking for equality. He should be looking for equity. And what is equity? It is the priority of various categories of people. Everyone is a category. And those categories have a ranking that is artificially and arbitrarily put together by some group that you never hear about. And it changes randomly whenever they want it to, so that they can always have another group, whether it's the furries or it's LGBTQ or black or white or whatever you want to call it. And they just switch it all around on a regular basis so that there's always a conflict and you always need to donate. And anyone who says and points this out and goes, hey, but we had this fixed. You are evil. See, you're the example of evil. Don't worry about the circular logic. Just give us money. Keep us in power. That's it.
Protected class.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, and it's also the it's outcome rather than opportunity, right? Is that what
Yes.
Jordan
That's
Peterson
their
said?
saying.
That doesn't make any sense. You can never have it that way. But the left has got it going on because they already have the system in place where they have at least half the country just tell me what to think and we'll go. And they feel that people love feeling that they're right, and it's a simple, lazy way. I mean, I get accused all the time. Well, you're lazy. You don't do your research. I said, I got 10 times as much information as you do. How does that make me less informed? I don't even care if it's all wrong. At least I've looked for things that are outside of my own realm of understanding. But it's a lost critical thinking, I guess we can call it, but it's lost. It's lost on so many people.
No, it's not in our news media. It's not in our entertainment. I mean, we look at these things. It's so dumb now. I mean, look at shows like She-Hulk or Witcher Origins or Velma. I mean, we can take these, forget about their move for the politicization and their political viewpoints. Let's throw that out the window for a second. They don't make sense as stories.
Right.
Rings of Power is a useless, stupid story. The story itself doesn't make sense. They've dumbed things down and they've watered down everything to the point where it doesn't make sense anymore. Gotham Knights, they've just had that wonderful catastrophe out there. And every episode is just saying the same thing 3 times. Go ahead.
The Star Wars movies were the one there with the teenage girl. I mean, Han Solo, who was like the hero of the galaxy in the first movies, is now a 60-year-old doddering man that has to be saved by a 15-year-old girl. She's the hero of the universe now. How does that make any sense? It makes,
and she's a Mary Sue at that. And
well, plus that movie. I mean, I'm not even sure what movie that was, but then there was all kinds of different people in different situations where it's like they're there just to appear so that somebody can be satisfied that they've been represented or something. It's a whole weird way of entertainment. It doesn't make any sense anymore.
No, that's why you get That's why you get Morgan Freeman in Prince of Thieves about Robin Hood. Oh yeah, because Moors. We've got to have all the Robin Hood movies now. You have to have a black actor in there. Why? Do you know how black England was back in the
Look at
1800s?
When
look at
Kevin
TV
Costner
commercials.
when Kevin Costner says in that movie, "I'll show you what English courage looks like," and he says it in his Iowa fucking accent. I'm sorry, you
And look at
kind of
look
blew
at
the whole.
look at TV commercials. Are white
they're
people
horrible.
even allowed in TV commercials anymore?
No, and no one has,
Not-
and
not
everyone
with
has
a
an
whole bunch of other
interracial
white
marriage.
Yeah,
Everyone.
can you have a traditional marriage
here
too?
with
Right.
Robin Hood, and we're here to overthrow the king and the sheriff of
thing-
Nottingham.
The thing I don't understand is that they're really trying to do a lot on TV commercials with mixed marriages and gay relationships and stuff, and it's like, well, it's fine, but it's really probably not your target market. You would think that if you're selling a product, you want to, car insurance.
Right?
Right. But you want to target your market to sell your product. It seems like they do exactly the opposite of
Bud Light.
Bud Light. Look at that. There's a perfect example where
Right.
we're taking a tranny and you're using a tranny to promote beer, which is something that,
Oh, Dylan Mulvaney. You're talking
Yeah.
about Dylan Mulvaney.
yeah,
And what's the result of that? They have a boycott. Bars are
Yeah.
kicking out. They're
all
throwing
kinds
away
of-
their cans.
Couple country stars
Well,
for sure. That might be a
so-
place to look for people that could be advocates. Some of these country stars were turning on that and saying we're not gonna advertise, we're not gonna be endorsed by Anheuser-Busch anymore.
Well,
Well, you gotta
If
you gotta
see
think
it-
about NASCAR rednecks drink Anheuser-Busch.
right.
listen,
So who's
you
in
can't
charge
look
of
at
that
NASCAR.
company and thought,
Listen,
I'm gonna get a guy.
NASCAR.
I'm gonna get a guy that
NASCAR
dresses up as
is
a woman
dead market for
as my
conservative.
spokesperson.
I say NASCAR
Still
is a
think that-
dead market for traditional ideas. It's
No,
a dead
guys.
market for
You know what? Love your NASCAR as long as you can. You forgot something. Climate change.
It's not
The
a
NASCARs, all the cars are going to go away and they're going to have to be electric.
Yep,
So
you're
if
here.
you want to see a car go 230, not going to happen.
Do you guys watch Scotty Kilmer videos on YouTube?
Who?
Scotty Kilmer?
No, I don't know him.
Rings a bell.
Assignment for the day. He's like a 69-year-old mechanic, and he doesn't give a crap about anything. He calls it like it is. Doesn't
Oh,
take
yeah.
any money from anybody. Just looks at cars, examines them, talks about.
Oh yeah.
And he's
Have you
hilarious.
seen him? Have you seen him?
Yes. Oh, he's hysterical.
It's hysterical. He's nuts. He's all sketchy and oh my god.
Get the
Yeah, I
biggest
know.
battery you can.
If your headlights aren't working, it's because they're fucking blown out. That's why your headlights don't work. Don't listen that you got to put blinker fluid in the car. Your headlights is fucked up.
Your headlights is fucked up.
Okay, I missed something there. I got to check him out.
Oh, he's
Oh,
amazing.
Don't ever
He's
buy
all right.
a
Makes my
Ford.
day every day. Scott
But
Adams in the
seriously.
morning, Scotty Kilmer at night makes my day every day.
But seriously, guys, watch out. They're coming. Climate change is coming for NASCAR. I've said this
they're coming for
5 years ago. They're going to get
Look,
rid of
they're
it.
not coming for NASCAR. NASCAR is going to voluntarily acquiesce the same way they did to the anti-Second Amendment group. They're not allowed to advertise any firearm companies, any firearm-related products. They're not even allowed. They're even getting to the point where stores like Gander Outdoors and whoever the hell the rest of these these big outdoor shops that sell guns, they're not even going to let them advertise on the cars anymore. I wrote emails to every team and I said, listen, please ask if you guys can change the number of your cars. Change them to 177, 22, 25, 380, 3844,
Yeah.
45. Try and incorporate the numbers some way because they all had a silent protest. We got a guy here in North Carolina a couple of years ago. Guy owns a whole NASCAR team. He's a big shot in NASCAR. I'm not going to say his name, but he had a home burglary got into a gunfight with somebody who broke into his house.
Whoa.
He's well within his rights. He defended his home, defended his house, defended his wife. It was just him and his wife home alone. The guy takes off, he runs. NASCAR condemned him.
For defending his life.
Letter of condemnation for shooting at the guy who was breaking into his house. Even though the guy breaking into his house had a gun and was shooting at him, he wasn't allowed to do that. NASCAR needs to turn into a figure eight with a fire in the middle, and that's how they need to race, because that's the only way you can get me to watch one of their friggin' races.
Look at it. Look at this idiot.
Oh, please, yeah, and that Sheeby.
that?
Look at him.
That's Dylan
Oh, that's
Mulvaney.
the Dylan Mulvaney.
That's
Okay.
not only a new. That's not only a new person for. That's
What
not
a
only a new person.
moron.
They also got a Nike deal.
Yeah, that was the new one.
You know, yeah, I know, but
They
you
made
know
a
what that
sports
reminds me?
bra for him. He doesn't even have any boobs.
You know what I think of?
Weirdo.
What's that called? The
Oh.
Flatchester?
Oh God, who knows? But it makes me think of Kill Bill 2. And remember when David Carradine was saying, he was talking about Clark Kent, the difference between Clark Kent and Superman, and that Superman as an alien, his disguise is Clark Kent. This is how he sees people. This is what he thought of what it is to be a human being. Now, think about that. Dylan Mulvaney and all these people who are supporting him, that's their image of what a woman is. They're sick. If that's what they think a woman is, they're sick.
He's better.
Oh, God.
He's better. All of these ones that have gone through this and they've taken the pills, they got in the slice and dice, they gone through the Ginsu process and the stuffing. They're better. Their parts are better because they're not defective. They don't have them. Oh, they don't have a monthly cycle that renders them useless. You know, so
Oh my God.
for a week, they're superior. They're superior because that's the new thing. It's not. They've improved upon what God created. They improved upon it, and now it's better. And if you don't want to, shag onto them, you have the problem.
That's another thing. I saw this panel debate or something, and they said, well, who would you rather ask this guy? Who would you rather have sex with, a really old woman or a hot tranny? And the guy goes, oh, definitely the really old woman, because otherwise I'd be gay. And they got all mad at him, like you know, oh, you can't say that. You're supposed to be attracted to guys dressing up like girls. You're supposed to, because they want you so badly to believe that they're actually women that they need you to believe it.
Right.
No, I'm fucking the old bitch. Sorry.
I'm fucking the old.
Dusting off the cobwebs and banging the old bitch.
Crowder's been banging on this stuff lately. It's really funny.
I don't care how hot that tranny is. Not happening.
It's just not right. It's not. Hey,
I'm just gonna call him Build-A-Bear.
Well, I don't get it. You don't get it. We shouldn't have to get it. Why do I have
we
to?
don't have to.
It just exists. Let it be. I don't care. Okay.
Exactly.
Why is it front page news? How many people are involved here? 20,000 people in the whole country? Maybe. I don't even know. I don't have any numbers, but I know it's not a majority.
It's a small number.
0.5 before the last 3 years where it had an explosion, it was 0.5% of the population in the United States.
Okay,
And that was
and
one
I-
of the
and
largest
I think-
populations in the world.
I think, like, is it your sister who's gay, Frank?
Yeah.
Well, I know people in the gay community that they don't want anybody doing any of this stuff. These activists don't represent a lot of the normal, everyday people that just want to live their lives. You know
That's
what I mean?
true.
Whether they're the same, whether they're different, whatever, they don't want to be on the front page of the news. I mean, I
No.
wouldn't want to run into somebody in the supermarket and have to, find a way to have a conversation with them because of something that happened that some activist did. It's got nothing to do with anything.
No,
Lori, I know people that are gay
Yeah.
that I didn't know were gay. That Lori had to point out to me were gay. And it's, you know that they're gay, right? And I'm like, what? Like, yeah, they're gay. I'm like, I had no fucking clue. I had no clue. You know why? Because it just seemed like every
Right,
day,
And nobody
regular going
cares.
Nobody
That's the point.
cares.
Did you hear the
Not
Dave
putting
Rubin
shit out,
story?
not
Dave Rubin is
daring.
friends with Trump's kid, and he was at a dinner with Trump, and he walked over, and his son introduced him to Trump, and he says, and Trump shakes his hand, and Trump looks at Melania and go, "Hey, these guys are gay. What do you think?" He goes, "All they're guilty of was being too good looking. Ha ha ha." And when Dave Rubin talked to Trump about it, Trump said, "Nobody's cared about this stuff for 20 years. Who cares?
Exactly.
It's not even on the agenda." Well, this is the big problem that I have. All my left-wing acquaintances think that everybody on the right thinks a certain way, talks about certain things, cares about certain things. And whenever I bring up, I know thousands of right-wingers, and I've never heard this conversation. It's like knowing about QAnon and stuff. Does anybody know about these people? Who are these people? It's all
No.
made up stuff.
But
I didn't even know what QAnon
I don't
was
even know.
until the Democrats started talking about it.
exactly. No one did. No one knew
Because
about
we
it.
weren't saying it was a bad thing. We didn't even know what the heck it was.
But why is it that
I
we-
still don't really know what it is.
It's all guilt.
No
by
one
omission.
does. No one does. No one really knows what it is. Because it's whatever boogeyman they want it to be. But why is it that here's a great question. Maybe you guys know the answer to this. I don't. I keep asking. No one gives me an answer. Why do I have to give up my beliefs and my feelings because someone else said they like their feelings, their beliefs are more important?
Yeah,
They're
because
telling
here's
me
the thing.
I have to change everything about me
Yeah,
because
here-
they
doesn't
want
care.
something different.
here's
You don't
why.
care, you're bad.
I don't think that they. I think well, I don't know what it's called, but it's a psychological term where you need other people to reinforce your beliefs because
Affirmation. That's what it's
right.
called.
Okay, so there's another term for it. I can't remember what it is, but psychological affirmation or whatever it is. And so because they're not secure enough in their own beliefs, they need the outside world to mirror it, because the more people out there who share your belief, the better you feel about your belief. And it comes from a place where you're insecure about it to begin with. Because when we're confident about something, when we're confident about ourselves, when we have a high level of self-esteem, we don't need affirmation from anybody else.
Right. But it's worse than that, because the media has half the people programmed to believe that everything needs consensus. If you have consensus, you're on the right side. Well, 97% of climate scientists believe this. I go, first of all, that statistic makes no sense whatsoever. And if you tear it apart, it doesn't even fly. But who cares? 500 years ago, everybody thought the world was flat. Doesn't mean it's true. Consensus is all subjective and dependent on what's being presented. And when you present all these things with no real context, people just our minds glom onto that. Oh, I'm right. They agree with me. We're all together. Boom, boom. And if you don't agree with us, you're bad. And it's like a stone on the surface of the water. They never get any real information. They just get consensus and affirmation and patting on the back. And and there's a lot of industries that are like that. And we talk about our local music industry here is all about patting people on the back. It's got nothing to do with quality, nothing to do with anything.
That brings us back to our conversation about gun control. Oh, everyone says gun control works, but no one's actually proven that it actually works. There's no evidence that it works. There's plenty of evidence it doesn't.
Regulations on guns.
You don't need an AR-15. I don't need a Corvette and a cigar either, though.
But I got it.
Exactly.
How did the war on drugs work for us there?
Yeah.
How well did
The
that
war
work
on
out?
poverty.
No.
The war on poverty, and maybe that's what we should do. We should have them actually declare war on guns.
Well, actually, if we get the same kind of result, I'd go
won't have
for it
to
because
worry
that means everyone would have a gun.
Well,
Exactly.
they'll spend lots of money on things that don't work, which they're already trying to do, and we'll end up right where we are. Great.
It's insane. It's insane that. And let me ask you: do you guys on the podcast? I've heard it before, but do you ever take calls from like randoms, just people calling in? No,
We're not live, so we don't ever do anything.
Okay, I didn't notice if you. I
wanted
listened to
take it,
the
but
tape.
Dan wouldn't.
Well, I know that I always ask. I do live shows and stuff, and I always ask. Even when I do speaking events, I go out and I always ask. Like, if tell me, give me the other side. If you don't agree, tell me what it is you don't agree about.
Right.
I've said that to members of Congress. I've said that to people at state level and individuals. You never get anyone who ever responds. For like 15 years, no one ever calls in. No one ever calls up and goes, okay, and here's a real answer. I don't know. But yet those are the same people that tell you, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Okay.
They're probably not watching, right? Most of the time, I would assume.
Well, occasionally, no, I know that, like, I know there's a secret. They're kind of, they like to be secret about it, but they'll tell me in private. I have a couple of politicians that I know at several levels of government, and I know they listen to my show.
Mhm.
I know they watch me whenever I go on, and they'll quote some of the things that I've talked about and tell me sometimes months later when they see me, they'll go, and in this episode, you were wrong. You were absolutely wrong when you said that. I'm like, then why didn't you call in? If you think I was wrong and you thought my evidence was wrong, why didn't you call in? Well, I can't call in. I can't call in.
Well, they don't want the opposition because then they're going to have to debate with you. They don't want the opposition. They just want. This is the same example of why they shout people down. They don't want to hear what you have to say because then they'll have to argue and they'll have to defend their position.
Exactly.
They don't want to defend their position, but they do want to shut you down.
Yeah. And so instead of actually having the debate, they go, no, but just accept my point. We have to accept their point of view, not mine. No matter how much evidence we present, no matter how much we can prove what we're talking about and give example after example and ask questions and go, okay, what are the consequences of doing it your way? And no matter how many times we say that and say, here's everything, every consequence of what you guys are talking about, we're still supposed to accept and just blindly obey and affirm whatever it is they're telling us we have to change our lives into. But no one has to consider what we think. That just doesn't make any sense to me. It never made sense to me. And I don't understand how that circular logic, it should stop. People should hear it and go, well, wait a minute. Why can't you do what I want instead? What makes you
have a conversation, right? Think back to when William F. Buckley was on TV.
Oh, yeah. He was great.
People. I mean, I used to love watching that stuff, and I didn't know what they were talking about half the time when I was a kid, but it was like, this is a conversation. This is a debate. There's information being passed back and forth that somebody on the outside can look at and weigh for themselves, or at least maybe be curious enough to look into. I don't think anybody's even curious anymore. Like I said, they get consensus. They're good to go. We're off and running. Everybody agrees with me. Everybody who? I don't know anybody that agrees with you. Who agrees with you?
Yeah, but they even do stupid things, but it's so manipulated because there was an article yesterday, CNN, their headline on CNN, and of course it's CNN, 1/3 of Americans want to see Joe Biden reelected. Now, it's interesting when you think about that headline. 1/3 of Americans want to have him reelected. Wouldn't a normal, and isn't it common and actually correct to say 2/3 of Americans don't want Joe Biden to be reelected? Isn't that the consensus? Isn't that the majority? Isn't that the lead? The majority of people they polled said no. They went with the opposite to push, Joe Biden's going to get reelected. 1/3 of Americans agree to reelect Joe Biden. See, there's a consensus there. No, the consensus is exactly opposite of what you just told me.
Right.
It's like, this is basic English, guys. I made it past 6th grade. I understand you're saying the exact opposite.
Yeah, but they'll turn around and they'll justify that by saying, well, over the broader spectrum of possible candidates that are thinking about or have already declared their candidacy, nobody has enough votes or support among the constituency to surpass that current 1/3. So Joe Biden, by having 1/3, actually controls a plurality of the current available vote.
Right.
Even though we've
That's a
only
lie.
have Asa Hutchinson is the only person, and Robert F. as of yesterday, Robert F. Kennedy has declared that he's running for president.
Marianne Hutchinson.
And Hutchinson said, it was that Asa says he's running. He's running as a Republican. Hutchins is what's his face? Kennedy's going to challenge Biden for the nomination.
As a
Mhm.
Democrat.
Oh no,
As
it's
a
Marianne
Democrat.
Williams. Excuse me, it's Marianne Williams is running again.
Oh, the yoga
fucking
spiritual lady.
Yeah, who actually got she had more supporters
took-
than Kamala Harris.
She
actually had
talks
more
to the
supporters
dead.
than Kamala.
It's funny.
That's not really.
in touch with
Not really a
she's
place
in touch
to
with
be.
her spiritual
Oh.
side, and she gets visions and talks to the dead.
She had 7% of Democrats following her and supporting her in 2019. Kamala Harris peaked at 5. Kamala Harris was out of the race before the psychic.
I don't
Kamala
believe.
She's a heartbeat
Trump
away from the presidency.
I think you're in love with him.
nomination.
I want to.
I think you want to see his
Biden-
vagina.
We're watching.
Dan's watching a stupid video of the Bud
Dan's
Light guy
obsessed with this
dancing.
Anheuser-Busch kid.
It's
I
so-
think he wants to see his vagina. I think he wants to go, hello.
Oh no!
Watch out.
That
You may
that's
get
our
surprises
case.
you're not ready for, man.
Like get smacked in the face with a dong.
It's so silly to watch this guy act like
so
this.
silly
dude.
that you're watching.
I can't take my eyes
No,
off.
no.
Yeah, but you know what?
I feel bad. No,
He's
I
a
really feel bad.
millionaire.
I know. I know.
I'm
I
sorry.
guarantee you, he wears a suit every day.
Well, here's the thing. I feel really sad for Dylan Mulvaney because he is a classic example of the problem that's going to happen in the future. 6 months after he stops being in the headlines, that may be
Right.
someone who's going to kill themselves.
Yeah, good
He's gonna
point.
crash hard.
He's not going to get the attention. He's going to lose the attention that he's getting because he's probably feeding on the attention right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's probably not even about the money. It's about the attention. You
And
can
it-
tell by the stuff he does on camera.
And the companies don't even know that they're doing it to him.
You know,
I don't
no,
think
I-
they
they
care,
don't
even
care.
if they
They
do.
don't care.
You know what's going to be hysterical? In about 3 months, 4 months, as soon as his star starts to wane, he's going to come out and he's going to say, "Listen, I want to thank everybody for supporting me all this time, but I want to let you in on his little secret.
Yeah.
I'm as butch as they come. I'm straight and I'm swinging 10 inches of meat down here." And he's gonna come out and admit that he's been the ultimate fucking troll this whole time. And he's
Well-
gonna say, "Thank you for the $10 million.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Miss Drew Barrymore, thank you for bowing at my feet and kissing my knees. Thank
We
you,
know-
thank you so much."
It happens to all of them too. David Hogg was really popular around Parkland, and then after that, he dropped off, and the media wasn't so interested in him. So then he had to bring himself back, and every time there was another school shooting or whatever, he would try to insert himself. And there were times when he was literally reaching out to the media, trying to be seen, and people just weren't interested. So if you notice, he's really not that popular anymore. It's really just his Twitter antics or whatever that he keeps him alive. And the same thing with Shannon Watts. You know, Shannon Watts was really popular for a while. They used her a lot, and then you didn't hear so much about her, but everybody bashed the hell out of her. I mean, the gun advocates and Second Amendment advocates would beat the hell out of her online. And now she recently resigned, as far as I know.
Yeah, she allegedly left there. I think what happened was the publication of her second book didn't do so well. And I think she was probably encouraged to leave the organization because she's not quite as impactful as she used to be. So
Yeah.
they rode that horse as long as they could, and then they were putting her out to pasture.
They do it with all of them. I mean, look at Greta. Since
Yeah,
Greta
exactly.
turned 18 and she's an adult, and now she's fair game for anybody to counter and come back at her, she's gone. Got to
How
get rid
dare
of her
you!
too. They just throw these
Stole my
people on the
childhood.
wayside. Go
You've
ahead, Pete.
stolen my childhood.
Yeah, how dare you?
I should be in school
How dare you?
being told that I'm the wrong gender,
Oh,
but I'm
gosh.
here.
I just want to leave that for you.
Do you guys follow Jordan Peterson at all?
Yeah.
This is Dan's phone. He's got it on like instant replay. I seriously
That's
want.
going to be a new
I think
ringtone.
he's in love with him.
You know, that's almost as bad as the Prancer-sized lady.
Look at him. Fucking jazzercise.
Oh God.
Too bad you guys only do a podcast, because if you had a video channel,
No, we do
you
video.
know,
We do
what I was saying, there's your opening credits right there.
Yeah,
We're gonna have a blast with this video on the show.
You can
put
do
Benny
anything on
Hill
video,
and
right?
his
There's-
music in the background.
Listen, I got bigger tits than he does.
I'll vouch for that. Got that Vegas hotel room video.
Wow.
Crazy.
Oh,
I'm in the wrong business.
I'm gonna say this is some
Driveway
crazy
ceiling.
stuff. I don't know where we're going. And I don't understand.
know where
What
we're
do they
going.
want?
I don't know what they want. That's a good question. Paint the picture for
what
me.
is this? Who is that, Frank?
Is that Ian Margaret?
That's the Prancer-sized lady.
I want to kick
She's-
her too.
She's got it's an exercise movement that's sweeping the nation. The nation is on
People are
fire.
so stupid.
Learning how to
Frank,
do
put
the
that up
Prancer-
again.
People are dumb.
Dan wants to get some video of it.
I think we found the inspiration.
See, we need to put together a video and put that in sync and put it like a Michael Jackson song to it or something. What do you think? Ah,
Yeah,
it's so sick.
they both scare me. They both
Oh
scare me.
God, we're going to hell.
There's your million
not for
subscribers
this.
right there.
Not for this stuff. I'm not. You know.
There's a long train of other abuses that I might be.
Yeah. This isn't on the list.
But speaking about the truth is not going to be one of them.
So
I can't get rid of the Prancer-sized lady.
Is this
be
what
on
you
my
guys
phone.
always do on a
She's marked-
Friday night? What do you do?
Yeah. Well, not. Yeah. This is the
Oh, for
conversation.
God's sake. My phone locked up. Okay, there.
His Prancer thing is
Cleared up.
new, but you know.
Yeah, that's new.
Oh, the
That's a new segment.
Prancer-sized lady has been around for a long, long time.
Don't worry. Come on.
She's got
we'll have
3
a video
books,
of Dan
a whole
dancing
video
just like him.
series.
Dan dancing
And you wanna know
like
what's
that,
funny? She
Anthony doing
sounds
the butterfly
just
and
like
me and the
him.
gazelle. What do you think? We got her.
Does she?
We have a lot of footage.
It's crazy.
We do have a lot of footage.
It amazes me. No, but this is what we do more or less. This is what we do. We look at what's going on, and in particular, we tend to look at like the laws and that are happening.
Well, I told Frank that once we come on the show, it's going to go straight downhill.
Nah, this might be a step up in some parts. Depends on what Frank wants to talk about.
She's even got a rock. It's really rock. Just got a rock and roll Prancer-sized channel.
That's the Wolf of London, Werewolf of London.
Oh God.
No, it's not, but it's her. I guess it's her version.
That's
She's the
great.
Coyote of California.
Oh well, there you go.
Just play that funky music, white
Hey.
boy.
She paid somebody to put some music together for her channel and for her stuff. So hey, you know what? If she's making it, hey, good for her. This video came out like a dozen years ago. She was like 107 at the time. Oh, so yeah, and she's still going. She's still going, this lady. She teaches
for her.
classes in Pensacola, Florida.
Does she have a
No
diet
power
plan
to
we
her.
can look into?
Her name is what the hell is her name? What the hell is this woman's name?
Okay, so when you see this in commercials from now on, you know that Frank started the trend. Just so you know, you know who to blame now.
Patient zero.
Who is the Prancer-sized?
Oh, that one, I remember that guy.
No, Tony Little.
Was
Tony
that
Little.
John or was that the
No.
actual guy?
That's not Tony Little. That's John.
That's John.
That's
Yes,
me.
that's John.
No, that's Tony Little.
Anthony
That's John.
found the gazelle in his basement, and we decided.
I had
to
a
make
gazelle,
funny
and I
video.
told John to come over and act like Tony Little.
Well, that's a good imitation.
It's funny, right?
Do you remember that other thing that he was selling? That Tony Little was selling. It was this device that you put it on your feet, and you pulled the strap up, and it was a bar that went between your knees, and
Yeah, yeah.
It was like the ab strap something or other. And apparently, what happens is it connects your feet to your knees so that when you do sit-ups and crunches, your feet don't come off the floor.
I can see that.
I want you to
Okay.
think about that.
I think of that every time I watch
It
Anthony. do crunch.
attaches your feet
Yeah.
to your knees.
The only crunches Anthony does is Cap'n Crunch.
But
What?
it's but here's the thing. It's supposed your feet are already connected to your fucking knees. For your kids. It's already
all about
connected.
the range of motion, Frank. That's what it's
You know,
all about.
No. It was a strap. It was two. It was a,
No, I've seen it. I know what it is.
I have no idea.
Hey, you guys
it was
remember
a,
this?
it's a,
You know what this is?
It's George
No.
Costanza.
it's George Costanza.
Oh, that, yes.
All right, so I was at a restaurant.
he-
I was at a restaurant one time, and there was a couch upstairs, so I went up and did it. My girlfriend was so pissed off.
Totally unnecessary.
It was hilarious.
Let me find that
Oh,
Vegas hotel room
The waitress
video.
caught me.
Oh, God.
Shit, I
Funny.
do.
I don't know.
You should have seen Anthony moonwalking on Fremont Street in Vegas like in January. It was great.
Yeah, Frank, you should have been at SHOT Show next year.
I know. I should have, would have, could have, couldn't.
Oh,
but
we had a
next year-
blast. Our
next
friends
year I am-
Charlie Cook and John Petrolino, and we got together, and it was just stupid town. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Eating at Denny's, smoking
Well,
cigars.
I'm hoping that by I'm hoping that by October or November, all of my surgeries and therapies will be done and out of the way, and I'll be ready for next shot season by that time. I already have my plane ticket paid for. I already got that out of the way. Let's just I don't know how much life SHOT Show is going to have in Vegas, though. I mean, the more
They
I'm
talked
hearing
about
more,
it at the governor's conference I went to there. They were talking about it, the efforts that were in place trying to keep it there, because the people that put it on really want to keep it there, right? But
Right.
they're getting pressure from everybody, same as everybody else. So where would they go?
but I mean,
San Francisco.
we had there were a lot of big
Texas.
companies that
Pictures of the
pulled out of their,
trucks that
you
went
know,
over the
under the umbrella of COVID, they pulled out. But it really turns out that they pulled out because they were tired of Nevada politics and having to deal with the bullshit going on there. And they're looking at more southern territories. They're looking at Florida. You know, they're trying to see about that.
Big.
Like I said, 7 governors were there at the governor's conference, and they were all really on everything. Great details, great stories, and they were all just, backing the show 100%. They were all about it. Was great. It was fun. These guys.
I just love I see all of these guys down road. There's too many influencers here. There's too many this and there's too many that and this that, and we got to have just industry people. And I had to laugh my ass off. I'm like, dude, you
I don't know if they
started.
can see this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way out of focus. But this is us, all 3 of us with
Oh.
Stephen Williford. I don't know if you can see Stephen Williford.
Yes, I know. I owe
Yeah.
him a steak dinner. I was one of the first people to interview
There
him
it is.
after that.
He was great.
So he's a real nice guy, and we're gonna get him on our show, as a matter of fact. But that was at the GOA, booth. Yeah. So that
I
was a
reached
good
out to him.
time.
He was in South Carolina last week, and I tried to reach out to him in time to see if I could catch him while he was still there. I was going to say, hey, let's hook up for dinner while you're in the neighborhood, but he was already on a flight back by the time I got the message out to him. So sadly, I missed him. But
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
yeah, he's the barefoot defender. That's I spoke with him. I spoke with Jack Wilson. Jack Wilson, that's another guy who, he was there, right man, right time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he couldn't respond before 2 shots went out. But he did do his diligence and saved everybody else in that church. So,
How many shots
we
would have
don't
gone
deal
if
with
he
the
didn't?
situation we're presented with.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Heineken burps.
No,
Better
that
than
goes
Bush.
back to our earlier discussion that if it weren't for someone confronting the gunman, how many bullets they'd keep firing until they run out of bullets.
Yeah. or until everybody is dead.
Yeah, one or the other. It's crazy.
Well, I was watching somebody posted a video on one of the local Facebook pages, and it's two cars, not more than 2-3 miles away from the house. It's a Mercedes SUV and an Acura SUV at a light. The Mercedes trying to go around one, and the kid is jumping out. Some kid is jumping out of the Acura that's got his doors open, trying to block the way, and he's swinging his belt at the window of this car in north of the car. Now, that car's got New York plates on it. The other car's got North Carolina plates on it. And I'm saying to myself, son, do you have any idea what state you drove down to? You're trying to break the window of an occupied vehicle on the road with your belt in your little flip-flops on. Like, it's like 7 out of 10 cars down here ride around with an armed driver.
Oh yeah,
you're picking the wrong. And then it was the funniest thing is because the car goes around and the kid kicks the car, and as he goes to, his foot gets caught in the bumper of the car that's going around, and his leg snaps around his own open door. Oh, it was hysterical. I wish I could pull that up. It was just a great video. His legs all bent up.
Oh, God.
Like, hey, stupid is stupid does. I like seeing stupid people pay the consequences for their stupidity.
Well, that's why they used to have the website, or I may still be around.
Darwin
Social
Awards.
Darwinism.
I could tell you about another Darwin case that I just found out about not too long ago, but I can't. I'll have to wait a couple of months for this to become.
You promised you wouldn't tell.
It has to be resolved in the courts before I can speak about it. But it's a funny story. It's funny. So funny, in fact, that I'm going to have T-shirts made up with a new phrase, and it's going to be really, really hysterical. But we'll wait.
I can only imagine.
For me to actually go, get the fuck out of here. When I heard it, yeah. If it takes me off guard and I'm like, really? Seriously? That really happened? Then, yeah, it's got to be bad. Hey, listen, guys, we're well over the 2-hour market here tonight. Dan, Anthony, John, I want to thank you guys so much for coming in and spending this time with us this evening. We had a lot of laughs. Hope to be able to do this again. As an open door policy, whenever we're on, you guys are all welcome to come in. Matter of fact, I'll just keep dropping a fucking link in your mailbox until one of you or all of you show the hell back up again.
Well, Anthony and I are involved in music, so weekend nights I was supposed to be at a local casino, and my lead singer is texting me now saying how bad the monitors
you guys
are.
up.
Well, we gotta get you their emails too, Frank. We got to get you Anthony and John's emails too, because I might not be able to do it, but maybe they can join you too. So
yeah,
any combination.
Absolutely.
Well, like I said, shoot me off the details, and I'll shoot. Mine is Frank at l1f.us. I'm easy to find, and we'll be able to. Michael Vasquez, happy 55th and 1 day birthday.
Thank you.
My birthday is in about 32 minutes.
He's
That's
gonna be
gonna
a
be good, man.
fossil.
Wow.
What's that?
That's what I know.
Fossil.
My present is I'm going to meet my new girlfriend's dog tomorrow. So
That's kind of cool.
got to
Girlfriend's
pick up
dog.
treats on the way. Got to make a good friend, I don't know. We'll see.
In the morning, when you have breakfast tomorrow, just take a little bacon grease.
There you go, right?
Supposedly,
Supposedly he's a vegetable dog. He likes carrots and cucumbers. He likes strawberries. I don't know. It's weird.
I guarantee you he likes bacon too.
Oh no, I know.
likes John Fetton.
Bacon.
But there was a bad joke there. Somebody might have caught it.
Yeah, I heard it. I caught you. Caught that one.
All right, Petey Soma, love you, brother. Listen, again, we thank you guys for being here. Thank everybody for showing on. Dale Grimm, everybody else that's on the office. Jan, next week you pop in for a little bit with us to give us an update on how your training's going. All right. So we'll catch everybody soon. Until then, you guys be safe. Shoot straight. Give us a plug for the loaded bike before we go.
Go ahead. You guys want to do it?
No,
No,
you know
you
the
know it.
details.
Loadedmic.com. Loadedmic.com. Mike like microphone. MIC. Just check out the show. I swear to God, you're gonna love it. You're gonna crack up. It's crazy.
Yeah.
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 He spends a lot of time on his hair, and he
Yeah.
hits his
And then he
hair.
hits it. He hits my hair.
Hit my hair.
One pork chop.
We're in this
One pork chop.
crazy left-wing state we live in.
Yeah. We get the conservative view from New York. And it's
We got the Botox bitch in charge.
oh
You
yeah.
want to know what's really fucked up? I just realized is that there's 6 New Yorkers on the screen right now.
Yeah, no.
We're all New Yorkers. huh?
We're dispersed out over a wide group, but there's 6. If Michael was here, there'd be 7
That's true.
on his. Holy shit! This is probably the only show on the internet today with 6 New Yorkers on it, all speaking the truth.
There you
That's
go.
right.
And next week we're talking about Donnie's indictment. We were going to try and get to that tonight, but it should all be over and done with by then anyway. So not really much to talk about.
Yeah, it's a sideshow.
Yes, it is. All right. So everybody, you guys, we love you guys. Be safe.
guys.
It's great.
Thanks.
Have a good one. Happy Easter.
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Happy Easter.